If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 176, Is this how you use restrict? Thousand Eyes Restrict. Gekko's eyes widened, completely thrown by this sudden shift. He knew the card, of course. It was his adoptive father Pegasus's ace. He also knew Kira had gotten a replica of Thousand Eyes Restrict from Gekko last time, so it wasn't surprising for Kira to have it. But what shocked him wasn't the card itself, but you used Scapegoat to transform into Thousand Eyes Restrict. Thousand Eyes Restrict is a fusion monster, normally requiring Ritual Monster Relinquished and Thousand Eyes Idol as fusion material. It's hard to summon. Not easy to play. But by using Scapegoat plus Metamorphosis, you can cheat it out easily, a trick that once got Thousand Eyes Restrict banned in tournaments. At first, people thought it was just a collector's card, but with these tricks, it became a staple removal tool. Thousand Eyes Restrict, ATK 0. But Gekko quickly recovered from the shock of the Thousand Eyes Restrict suddenly appearing, and said calmly. But even so, while Angel 07 is on the field, none of your monsters can use their effects. That includes Thousand Eyes Restrict. If monster effects can't be used, the threat is greatly reduced. Mr. Gekko's ace is troublesome. Kira nodded, and then a golden light flashed from his graveyard as a trap card emerged. So, I activate Breakthrough Skill from my graveyard. Gekko was startled, activating a trap from the graveyard, the one you used turn 1. Yes. If Breakthrough Skill is in the graveyard, during my turn, I can banish it to negate the effect of an opponent's monster until the end of the turn. So, I negate Angel 07's effect. If these were the real cards, Belial, Marquis of Darkness would have protected the others from being targeted, but the manga version's effect is negate the attacks of all level 7 or lower monsters, so it doesn't provide protection. Thus, Breakthrough Skill can hit Angel 07. With Breakthrough Skill, Angel 07's effect is negated. The artificial angel's halo dimmed, its holy domain shrinking until it recoiled around itself. The suppression on Kira's field was lifted. He had a counter for this since turn 1. Gekko muttered. Then, from my hand, I activate the ritual spell Black Illusion Ritual, Kira said. I tribute monsters from my hand or field with total levels equal to 1 or more to ritual summon Relinquished. He'd gotten this card from Gekko last time. Relinquished is Thousand Eyes Restricts fusion material, so, of course, he got both. Gekko was shocked. You're summoning both Thousand Eyes Restrict and Relinquished in one turn. He realized not even Pegasus himself may have pulled this off. Sheep tokens summoned by Scapegoat can't be tribute for tribute summon, but ritual summon is fine, Kira explained. So, I tribute a level 1 sheep token to ritual summon. The alluring eye of illusion descends through the Black Illusion Ritual. He slapped the ritual card onto his duel disc. In a burst of ritual fire, a sinister, sanity-draining monster appeared. Relinquished, ATK 0. Gekko was stunned. 2 sheep, in one turn, became both of Pegasus's signature Relinquished monsters. So, this is how you play the Relinquished series? He suddenly had a heretical thought. Maybe his dad never actually knew how to use Relinquished properly. First, Relinquished's effect. Kira calmly waved his hand. Once per turn, I can equip an opponent's monster to this card and gain its ATK and def. I'm sure you know this effect. He pointed at Gekko's Belial, Marquis of Darkness. So, first I absorb Belial, Marquis of Darkness as an equipment. Relinquished's chest opened, unleashing an overwhelming pull, like a black hole. Belial was sucked in and vanished. Relinquished gains Belial's stats. Relinquished, ATK 0 ATK 2800. Gekko gritted his teeth. Next is Thousand Eyes Restricts effect. You know this one too, Kira smiled. As a fusion monster, it inherits Relinquished's effect. Once per turn, equip an opponent's monster to this card and gain its ATK and def. This time, I'll absorb Gaia Plate the Earth Giant. A burst of darkness, then a powerful pull dragged Gaia into the abyss. Thousand Eyes Restrict, ATK 0 ATK 2800. Even Gaia. Gekko gritted his teeth. In the anime, Relinquished and Thousand Eyes Restrict can absorb as many as you want, but in the real game, you can only have one equipped at a time. Either way, you can only activate the effect once per turn. So now, both of Kira's relinquished monsters have already used their effects and can't absorb Angel 07 this turn. Or so it would seem. Now, I normal summoned Tsukuyomi. Tsukuyomi, ATK 1100. When Tsukuyomi is summoned, I can flip a monster on the field face down. Gekko was puzzled. On the field? Would he target his own Angel 07? But flipping Angel 07 face down now would only help defend against damage. I flip my own Thousand Eyes Restrict face down. Nanny. Gekko was shocked. Set his own Thousand Eyes Restrict? What is he thinking? He watched as a crescent moon rose and Thousand Eyes Restrict was set face down. Of course, when Thousand Eyes Restrict is set, any monsters equipped to it are destroyed. Gaia was freed, its image flickering briefly before shattering into light. Now I activate A/D changer in my graveyard. Kira said. By banishing it, I can change the battle position of a monster on the field. Gekko's expression changed. When did that get there? Last turn, discarded with graceful charity, Kira smiled. I switch my face down Thousand Eyes Restrict back to attack position. Thousand Eyes Restrict reappeared, its single eye gleaming eerily. Being flipped face up resets its effect, so it can activate again. Once per turn, I absorb an opponent's monster as equip. I'll take Angel 07. Gekko could only watch as his ace was sucked into the vortex, becoming part of Thousand Eyes Restrict. So, this is how you use relinquished monsters. He muttered. In the real game, Thousand Eyes Restrict prevents all other monsters from attacking, even its side, but in the anime, only the opponent's monsters are blocked. Thousand Eyes Restrict and Relinquished, direct attack. The two creepy monsters opened their voids, firing out the absorbed Angel 07 and Belial, Marquis of Darkness. Gekko could only raise his dual disc to defend himself as his two signature monsters attacked, leaving him on the ground, eyes full of doubt at the world. Two sheep tokens became two relinquished monsters, and in one turn took out all three of his big monsters. Why was he having such a weird dream? Gekko, LP 3000 LP 0. Chapter 177, The Perfect Duelist. The duel was over. Gekko, who had been relentlessly battered by his monsters, staggered backward. As his life points hit 0, he dropped to one knee, staying down for a long time. Head lowered, he looked utterly defeated. Misawa and Alexis also wore complicated expressions. They glanced at Kira, then back at Gekko, not sure what to say. Kira had won again. And it seemed like Kira's strange, new strategies had multiplied once more. Looking at Gekko, who hadn't gotten up for a while, they even began to worry, after today, would a legendary duelist lose his dreams? Is there no one left who can stop the path of Kira? Alexis subconsciously placed a hand on her deck, thinking of her latest card, Cyber Angel, Natasha, created under Kira's guidance. She suddenly felt there was something oddly familiar in Kira's tactics today. If there wasn't a bit of Kira's personal, unique quirks mixed in, she wouldn't believe it. At that moment, a voice called out from the direction of the Industrial Illusion Corp HQ. I told you so. Everyone looked toward the voice. Standing at the door was another Gekko, almost like a perfect copy. If they weren't side by side, you'd never tell them apart. No need to explain, this was naturally Tenmyako, Gekko's younger brother. Gekko stood up and looked at his brother. Yako. I said he was strong. Brother, you probably weren't his match either. Yako smiled, hands behind his back. Of course, I know even if I said so, you'd still have to try for yourself. Gekko shrugged silently. He turned to Kira, seeming to have steadied himself, then smiled lightly. It was a good duel. I learned a lot. What else could he say? You're playing the game wrong. But the cards Kira used were all their father's. Not at all, I'm the one who learned a lot. Kira smiled, shaking his hand again. Yako also greeted him. It hasn't been long since we last met, but you seem even stronger now. You've already mastered the power of the ritual fiend so quickly. No, he even felt that was an understatement. Because in Kira's hands, the ritual fiend seemed even smoother than when Pegasus used it. Of course, maybe that's because Pegasus has retired and rarely duels now. I lost, Gekko said, glancing at Yako. You were right. Dueling Kira does feel special. He looked at Kira. Now that I think about it, maybe you're a perfect duelist. Kira raised an eyebrow. Years ago, Mr. Pegasus evaluated me the same way. But that was a long time ago, back when I was still learning to duel. A look of nostalgia appeared on Gekko's face. Gekko and I were both orphans adopted by Mr. Pegasus. He took in many kids like us, training us to be his successors. At that time, I was one of the first to stand out, showing extraordinary dueling talent, far ahead of the other kids. But after Pegasus came to see one of my duels in person, he gave me such an evaluation. He turned to Kira, speaking seriously. Your dueling is almost perfect. Every move from the first card is a meticulous calculation leading to victory, like a master chess player. Misawa and Alexis crowded over, listening intently to the master speak. But Mr. Pegasus's idea of perfection was only the limit that I could reach. Compared to my brother Gekko, it's hard for me to improve any more. Gekko closed his eyes and smiled softly. And if you ask me, in terms of deck construction, play calculation, and control, Fujiki Kira, you should be called the perfect duelist. Gekko spoke earnestly. You're exactly the kind of duelist Pegasus described, winning by relying on intelligence, deck building, and always keeping a cool head. I think it's exactly because you can see many moves ahead and calculate the path to victory that your duel seems so effortless. Kira. Hey? Is that so? Now that you mention it. Misawa suddenly remembered something. It does seem that way. Compared to Jaden Yuki, you two are complete opposites as duelists. Oh. Gekko looked interested. Is he also a student at your duel academy? Yes, and also a pretty unbelievable guy. But he's Kira's total opposite. Misawa thought for a moment. How should I put it? If Kira always seems calm and likes to win with clever tactics and brains, then Jaden Yuki. He paused, not sure how to continue. Alexis laughed. You mean, he never uses his brain, right? Haha, that's about right. Misawa smiled. Jaden is the most passionate duelist I've ever seen. He's always fired up, and only now do I realize he's Kira's polar opposite. He never overthinks or analyzes much. But he has incredible luck drawing cards and always finds a way to break out of any situation. He's ridiculously strong. I see a duelist who duels purely with his card of hearts then. Gekko was instantly intrigued. So your class has two such rare duelists at the same time? Looks like this year's Duel Academy students are something. Yeah, Jaden does seem to have a special talent. Alexis agreed. It's like everyone who gets close to him just can't help but get fired up too. True. Even Chumley, who was about to give up, seems to have regained his interest in dueling. Misawa added. The two realized that in this way, Kira and Jaden were also two extremes. One inspires everyone around him to crave dueling, while the other makes everyone lose their love of the card game. Misawa suddenly thought he understood why these two had such strange chemistry as a team. Maybe this is what they call complementary. Each holds exactly what the other lacks, which is why sparks fly when they're together. Kira, meanwhile, was deep in thought. Dueling Jaden, hey. If this theory holds, maybe dueling Jaden will help him reach a deeper understanding of dueling. He hadn't challenged Jaden yet precisely because he wanted to save that important milestone as a test of his progress in miracle draws. Jaden isn't that strong at the start. In the first semester, he lost to Zane, and even then, Zane wasn't going all out. It wasn't until the end of the first year that Jaden caught up and barely tied with Zane in their graduation duel. So for Kira, the real trial isn't about how strong Jaden is now, but about his unique aura. Being able to duel against that level of aura is the best test of his training. But that opportunity should be coming soon. Most likely in the next month, the annual freshman face-off between Duel Academy and the Northern Branch will be held. The Academy will need to send out a first-year representative. In the original anime, it was Misawa, the top of RA Yellow, and Jaden who dueled for the spot. So Kira guessed that he would probably be nominated for the duel in Misawa's place. Chapter 178, Who's the Real President? After the duel, Kira and his group enjoyed a meal with the Tenma brothers at Industrial Illusion Corp. During the meal, Gekko promised to make their lab a priority for sponsorship, granting them access to rare cards through Industrial Illusion Corp's special channels, with internal discounts. This meant Kira now had even more ways to get cards. Thanks to Gekko, he downloaded Industrial Illusions app onto the Academy terminal, so checking the new arrivals in their shop became part of his daily routine, along with the Academy store. And many of the cool cards Gekko used in today's duel were now within reach too. Unlimited internal card access at the world's biggest card printing company. Any other duelist would be thrilled, seeing it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But Kira's first reaction was, hey? Still gotta pay. I always get stuff for free from Kaiba. Well, whatever. He didn't lack money anyway. Just selling the rare cards he picked up from others was a nice sum, not to mention the president's rewards he hadn't even used. Having powerful backers is comfortable. With this fruitful trip to Industrial Illusion over, the three returned to the academy that night. As expected, their newly founded lab quickly became famous. It was only natural a student research team, achieving a string of amazing results, had now secured sponsorship from the world's two biggest companies, Kaiba Corp and Industrial Illusion. Just hearing that sounded crazy. At first, it was just among the teachers, but word soon spread among the students. Did you hear? Fujiki Kira, you know, that big villain from RA Yellow set up a lab, and both Kaiba and Pegasus invested in it. No way, that strong? He must have some serious connections. Of course. I heard he and Kaiba Sito are like blood brothers. Like, share the same underwear clothes. Say what? So he's already found a backer, and he'll have a job lined up after graduation. The rumors grew increasingly ridiculous. When Kira heard these from Misawa, he was baffled. He figured he'd only met the president a handful of times, and they'd barely even spoken 10 sentences. When did they become underwear buddies? Turns out people do love gossip more than the truth. The more outrageous the story, the more it spreads. Whatever, it helped them recruit people. After this meeting, the academy took their project even more seriously, assigning staff from the research department to help with development. Then the funds from Kaiba Corp and Industrial Illusion arrived, and Kira's lab was officially up and running. With his knowledge of future deck trends, he could soon start producing stable results. The duel with Gekko, while a win, had still given Kira some inspiration. Duel with your heart, hey. Kira reflected. But he felt he'd always been passionate about dueling anyway. Sure, he was different from most duelists in this world, but he'd always enjoyed the fun of dueling, especially sharing that joy with others. Isn't bringing smiles through dueling the eternal truth of Yu-Gi-Oh? There are many paths to the top, no reason his way can't succeed. If Jaden can become a legend with a burning passion, why can't he do it with cunning? So, he figured he just needed to duel and practice more and keep learning. Kira increased his daily training even further. His first stop for sparring was always the duel club. For several days, he'd pop in, each visit accompanied by laughter and fun. Next was the student council, which he'd recently joined. As a new member, he quickly bonded with the others, and after a week, he'd dueled pretty much everyone there, building friendships through cards. He also helped Sika handle some minor student council tasks. Apparently, the photography club and art club both wanted to use the academy garden. The photographers wanted to shoot for the upcoming culture festival, while the art club had booked it for sketching. Both presidents were arguing, neither willing to budge. So, Kira stepped in as the mediator, grinning as he showed off his duel disc. I have an idea. Why not both duel me? Whoever wins gets priority. Sound fair? Both presidents immediately fell silent. After a brief pause, the photography club president said, actually, there's still time before the festival. Why don't you guys sketch first? We can come back later. No, you go first, the art club president replied, suddenly humble. Sketching can happen anytime. It'd be bad if we delayed your exhibition. No, you first. You first, really? Kira smiled, easy. I'll tweak the plan, you duel me, and whoever wins, the other side gets priority. Deal. Both presidents. They seemed to get it now. It wasn't about the outcome. The student council ace didn't care. He just wanted to duel. In the end, Kira got his duel, and the conflict was peacefully resolved. He felt earlier student council reports about both sides had been unfair. In his view, both presidents were polite and reasonable. And from now on, any club disputes would likely be handled much more amicably. Soon, a new rumor spread through the academy. The student council had acquired a forbidden weapon. If you broke the rules or disobeyed, depending on the severity, the student council might send their ace to enforce order. Suddenly, every club felt a dark cloud hanging over them, as if the shadow of the dueling world itself had descended. But over time, clubs realized that Kira only took cases he was interested in, not every little thing. A subtle consensus formed, as long as violations weren't too severe, the student council promised not to unleash their ace. But anyone who got a warning would be wise to restrain themselves. This strange balance led to a new phrase in the latter half of the year, the RA Yellow threat. Kira only went to the student council when he felt like it. The extra credits and cards were just a bonus, mainly, he wanted to practice. He picked tasks by one criterion, whether there was the opportunity for a duel. If not, could he create one? And was the opponent worth dueling? After a while, Sika figured out his preferences, only bothering him with missions he might like. Like today. So, Kira, how about this one? Sika handed him a memo. Site inspection for a new club. You can even require the president to duel for approval. Kira waved her off, anything else? He'd already dueled that president, no point repeating. Sika sighed. For a moment, she couldn't tell who was really in charge anymore. But what could she do? His lab was now sponsored by both Kaiba Corp and Industrial Illusion, and highly regarded by the Academy higher UPS, not to mention the rumors about his close ties to Kaiba. And her? Just a humble student council president. What else could she do? What's this? Kira had already picked up a report he glimpsed out of the corner of his eye. Oh, that. Some students reported seeing a strange person wandering the academy forest late at night, Sika explained. This person is quite strong, even obelisk blue students have lost to him. And after every duel, the weirdo takes the loser's rare cards as a trophy. Sometimes, if it's serious, he even takes their duel disc. Kira was shocked. Taking duel discs and rare cards? There are such vile people in the world? Kira, hey, why are you looking at me? Chapter 179, Even Weirdos Fear You. Duel Academy, School Building. Two RA yellow students, one tall, and one short, walked down the hallway. Suddenly, a group of obelisk blue students came running from the stairs, and the two sides met. The blue students stopped, frowning. Their leader stepped forward, coldly, RA yellow students, strutting down the middle of the hallway? Don't you know you should make way for us at a time like this? The tall RA yellow student frowned and wanted to say something, but the short one tugged his sleeve and whispered, "Don't." The tall student immediately lowered his head and moved aside, making way. Humph, that's more like it. The blue students, receiving the deference they expected, looked even more arrogant. Lower dorm students should learn their place. With that, they strutted past. The short RA yellow student clenched his fists, glaring after them with resentment. But less than a minute later, the blue students came running back the other way. With a clatter of footsteps, they returned in a panic. Damn it, we ran into Fujiki Kira. Gotta take a detour. Hurry up. If you fall behind, you'll get challenged to a duel. They dashed past the two RA yellow students. The two were stunned. How did these supposedly superior students turn so cowardly in just a minute? What terrifying being could make them panic like that? Looking down the hall, they soon understood. Their RA yellow legend, Fujiki Kia, had arrived. Weird, I always heard the blue students look down on us and never miss a chance to step on us, Kira mused. So why are they all so scared now? Doesn't make sense. Misawa looked like he wanted to say something. Don't you know why they're scared? But he kept quiet. Hey, have you heard of the tennis club captain, Harrington Rosewood? Misawa said. Rumor has it he's as strong as Zane Truesdale. Just a rumor, Kira replied casually. He only had a vague impression something about a tennis deck focused on LP reduction, and an anime original win condition card. His duels were more like tennis matches than card games. Yeah, but Jaden dueled him the other day and won. People said they saw Harrington Rosewood crying on a cliff at sunset, yelling "I hate dueling," or something. Kira pondered. Did Jaden break his spirit? Poor captain. Just then, they noticed the two RA yellow students. Oh, Beauregard and Briar. Misawa greeted them. The tall one was Beauregard, and the short one was Briar, roommates in the same dorm. Kira remembered them too. The recent rare card hunter rumors described a terrifying figure like a giant spider that seemed to be these two. Beauregard, from the start, was focused on card design, so he wasn't good at dueling. Briar, though a top duelist in RA Yellow according to Misawa, was weak-willed and easily crushed by opponents' aura. So he rarely performed up to his abilities, often choking under pressure. Constantly looked down on by blue students, Briar grew resentful and came up with the rare card hunter idea. Beauregard, masked, would duel, while Briar hid nearby, guiding him through an earpiece, acting as a behind-the-scenes duelist. This way, he could avoid being overwhelmed by his opponent's presence and make proper decisions. So far, every blue student they'd ambushed had lost rare cards. Briar glanced at Kira, then sighed. Fujiki Kira, must be nice. He looked away, muttering to himself. Even though you're in RA yellow like me, you're so strong. Even those arrogant blue students run scared when they see you. Misawa opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but decided against it. If anything, notorious would be more accurate. Kira smiled. Thanks, but you two are pretty famous among the blue students now, aren't you? They've all been talking about you lately. He lowered his voice. The spider giant who hunts rare cards. Both jumped in shock. What are you talking about? No idea. Briar quickly tugged Beauregard's sleeve. Beauregard, let's go. The two left. Watching them disappear, Misawa couldn't help asking, you mean, that's the guy from the rumors? The one who only comes out at night, using forbidden gambling rules to take rare cards. Yep. But that's impossible, Misawa said. Beauregard's huge, sure, but he's more into card design and can barely duel. And that giant duelist supposedly beat a bunch of blue students. Well, who knows? Kira smiled, walking on. That night, the darkness was thick as ink, swallowing the day's noise. Sparse starlight struggled through heavy clouds, dappling the treetops. The wind howled wild through ancient trees. A perfect night for shady business. A burly figure emerged from the woods. Masked, eyes hidden behind deep, dark sunglasses that reflected faint starlight. He wore layer upon layer of blue uniforms, with sleeves spreading out like spider legs, making him look like a 2-meter-tall giant spider. He crept silently, closing in on his prey. Two blue students, alone in the moonlight. But just as he drew near, one student spun around. So you finally showed up, mysterious giant duelist. Kira, dressed in blue, grinned and raised his duel disc. Same rules, right? Card on the line? I get it. Shall we skip the preamble and get started? But then, the spider giant let out a deep, strange yell, crap. It's Kira. With that, he turned and ran for his life. Kira. Misawa added dryly, told you even the weirdos run when they see you. P.S. Hey guys, please read at least 120 advanced chapters at patreon.com/absolutecode. Chapter 180, Ground Collapse. Huff, huff. We finally got away. In the darkness, the spider monster lay flat behind a boulder, peeking out nervously. No way he followed us, right? Briar's voice came through the earpiece, looks like we shook him off. Yeah, that was scary, Beauregard panted. Damn it, it was Kira in a blue dorm uniform. Briar gritted his teeth on the other end. Entrapment, how dirty. Thank goodness Beauregard could run fast. But before they could relax, the voice of a demon echoed in their ears again. Hiding here, are you? Both of them froze, feeling a chill run down their spines. It was him. They turned stiffly. The RA yellow demon had somehow caught up, standing there with a chilling smile. By the way, running won't help, Kira smiled. It seemed they lacked enough spirit affinity. That's why they hadn't noticed that silent magician had been standing atop the boulder, tilting her head and watching them. Kira had just followed at a leisurely pace, but with a spirit's gaze fixed on them, there was no escape. A dead end, nowhere left to run. What do we do? Beauregard whispered nervously into the earpiece. Guess we'll have to fight. Briar gritted his teeth. Don't worry, Beauregard, our teamwork is unbeatable. Even obelisk blue students have fallen to us. Perfect, let's see how far we can go today. Beauregard took a deep breath, rising to his feet. All right, let's go. I'll show you how strong we are together. Duel. X2. Kira, LP 4000. Beauregard, LP 4000. The dual disc's lights flashed, indicating that Kira had first turn priority. Kira didn't hesitate. I'll go first. Draw. I set a monster face down, and one face down card as well. Turn end. Beauregard, my turn. Draw. Briar's voice immediately sounded in the earpiece. Summon giant orc. Beauregard followed. Summon giant orc. A hulking orc, wielding a bone, muscles like rocks and steel, red eyes and fangs, appeared on the field. Giant orc, ATK 2200. Beauregard wasn't good at actual dueling, so he was a puppet. Briar was the real strategist. And special summon Helosaurus. A sleek, streamlined dinosaur with smooth scales and powerful limbs appeared. Helosaurus, ATK 1400. Gelasaurus's special ability, it can be special summoned from the hand. When this effect is used, your opponent can special summon a monster from their graveyard. Kira shrugged, there's nothing in my graveyard. Gelasaurus's effect is mandatory, but if the opponent has no monsters, it doesn't matter. Going straight to battle, Beauregard said. First, Helosaurus attacks your set monster. The dinosaur charged, roaring. Kira's set monster flipped over a 6-armed spellcaster, glowing with magical golden light. You attacked magical merchant, Kira said. When it's flipped, I reveal cards from the top of my deck until a spell or trap appears. That card goes to my hand, the rest go to the graveyard. He flipped 4 monsters, then the 5th was a spell, Oja Magic. Didn't hit Pot of Greed or Riggi, but this was fine. I add Oja Magic to my hand. The magic card was added to his hand, the charging dinosaur sent the merchant spinning off the field. Then Giant Orc attacks directly. Beauregard commanded. First blood. They'd been on a winning streak lately, gaining confidence. By discarding a card, I activate this trap. Kira discarded a card, and a set card flipped open. Trap card Karma Cut. The duo was startled. They recognized this powerful removal trap. Discard 1 card, banish a monster on your opponent's field and all copies in the graveyard. I banish Giant Orc. A transparent wave enveloped the attacking orc, sucking it into a dimensional vortex. Also, the card I discarded was Oja Magic, Kira added. When it goes to the graveyard, I add Ojama yellow, green, and black to my hand. 3 cards popped out and were added to his hand, the deck auto-shuffled. Damn it, got hit by a trap, Briar muttered. Let's just end the turn. Beauregard nodded, following orders, turn end. My turn. Draw. Kira calmly revealed another card. First, activate the spell card of adversity, anime card. If your opponent controls a special summoned monster and I have none, I draw 2 cards. Since you have Helosaurus and I have no monsters, I draw 2. He drew 2, then revealed another card. And now, this. Continuous spell, ground collapse. The ground beneath Beauregard's monsters cracked open like a broken mirror, deep fissures forming like a beast's gaping maw. 2 monster zones shattered. What? Briar frowned. Ground collapse locks 2 of your monster zones. Monster zone lock? Briar had a bad feeling. And now, I activate polymerization. Kira played the 3 Ojima cards he'd just searched. Fuse Ojima yellow, green, and black the triple fusion summon. 3 colors swirled into a fusion vortex, a powerful figure emerging in the blinding light. Ojima King, summon. Chapter 181, No rush, take your time. Ojima King, summoned. Ojima King, Def 3000. Ojima King. Briar tensed up. If it was before, he'd have thought, isn't that just a joke combo? Who uses that? But after watching Kira smash the legendary Paradox Brothers using Ojima plus Spatial Collapse, nobody at the Academy underestimated this combo, at least, not when Kira used it. Anything in his hands, no matter how unlikely, was always trouble. This was the consensus at the Academy. Ojima King's effect, while it's on the field, you can lock up to 3 of your opponent's monster zones, Kira explained. You have 2 left, so I seal the remaining 2. Just as expected. Briar's face darkened. A monster zone lockdown strategy. Ojima King roared. Ojima Green and Black leaped into the remaining 2 monster zones, squatting there and refusing to leave. Beauregard was stunned. So we can't summon any more monsters. Ugh, such a dirty trick, Briar gritted his teeth. Worthy of R.A. Yellow's Big Villain classic style. Kira, then I normal summon Boganian in defense. Boganian, Def 1000. Set 2 cards. Turn end. Beauregard whispered, no zones left, what now? Briar pondered. 4 monster zones were locked out, summoning was barely possible. At least they still had Helosaurus, and if they drew a level 5 or 6, they could tribute summon using it. But right now, no tribute monsters in hand. Let's draw first, Briar said. Beauregard nodded, draw. A new card. Briar's eyes lit up. A chance. Use this. Briar ordered. Beauregard obeyed. Quick play spell Mystical Space Typhoon. Destroy the continuous spell Ground Collapse. Once destroyed, the sealed zones reopened, allowing more summons. A storm blew through, Kira's back row magic was blasted apart. The field returned to normal. Alright, we can summon again. Briar perked up, let's keep going. Trap activate Ojima Duo, Kira interrupted. Special summon 2 Ojima tokens to your opponent's field. Ojima token, def 1000x2. The moment the field was restored, 2 Ojima tokens instantly took up the empty spaces, moving with lightning speed. Briar. So nothing had changed. Their newly opened monster zones were now occupied by pesky tokens, and they still couldn't summon. Fine. Then Helosaurus attacks. Briar ordered. Beauregard complied. The dinosaur charged at Kira's defending Boganian. Now, I activate another trap, Nightmare Wheel. Kira snapped his fingers. Nightmare Wheel targets your Helosaurus. As long as this card remains, that monster cannot attack or change position. The poor dino smacked into a spiked wheel, got chained up, and wailed helplessly. Arg! Briar raged. Only monsters can't attack, new monsters can't be summoned, and those Ojima tokens are just infuriating. Beauregard, Briar, should we? Shut up! Briar snapped. Beauregard. Watching this familiar scene, Misawa had no words. Somehow, he'd stopped being surprised by Kira's signature dueling style, just felt a little sorry for his opponents. Of course, by now, he'd figured out from Kira's hints that the rare card Hunter Spider monster was the Beauregard-Briar duo. Beauregard dueled in person, but Briar called the shots via headset. The two were inseparable, as close as brothers. Maybe that's why they could coordinate so perfectly. But watching this, Misawa was suddenly worried, facing Kira, would this friendship survive the night? Just then, Alexis's voice came from behind, what's going on here? Rhodes. Misawa turned. I was just passing by and heard the commotion. Alexis glanced at the field, saw Kira and the Ojima tokens, and instantly understood. So today's victim duelist is. She almost slipped, but Misawa didn't even think it strange. It's the spider monster duelist who's been targeting Obelisk Blue students lately. I see. That's rough, Alexis said. Misawa agreed, nodding. Of course, both knew it was the spider monster who was in trouble. My turn. Draw. Kira drew. In my standby phase, Boganian and Nightmare Wheel each deal 600 and 500 damage to you, a total of 1100. Beauregard, LP 4000 2900. Damn it, so you're just going to lock our zones and whittle us down. Briar gritted his teeth. Kira, next, normal summon Submarineroid. Submarineroid, ATK 800. The invincible submarine appeared, its gaze as disdainful as ever. Submarineroid can attack directly. Torpedo launch. A torpedo slammed into Beauregard's face, making him stagger. Beauregard, LP 2900 2100. Damn it! Briar kept raging. Are we seriously going to be slowly tortured to death like this? After attacking, Submarineroid switches to defense. Submarineroid, ATK 800 def 1800. Turn end. Kira gestured politely. Come on, your move. Take your time. We've got all night to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Chapter 182, The Power of Bonds. Briar. Looking at the field, Nightmare Wheel, Boganian, Submarineroid, and those annoying Ojima tokens. A sense of deep helplessness. Just one turn, and they'd lost 1900 LP, with the monster zone still locked. Their hand offered no hope of a comeback. It was hopeless. Don't give up. Beauregard suddenly spoke. Briar was stunned. Beauregard. But then he shook his head, gritting his teeth. What's the point? This is R.A. Yellow's big villain. We were never going to win. And with this field, I don't see any way out. We haven't even scratched his LP. Do you think we could turn it around with a single draw? Beauregard fell silent. Then spoke quietly, Briar, honestly. I know I'm nowhere near as good as you at dueling. I don't get it. But no one ever cared about me before, until I ended up in the same dorm with you. When you got mad about my problems like they were your own, I was so happy. I do this not because I'm mad at those arrogant elites, but because I want to do something for you. Beauregard. Briar was speechless, moved. So. Beauregard stepped forward, full of spirit. We've always relied on your tactics, your skills. But now it's my turn to do something for you. Kira. Wait, aren't you two the ones illegally hunting rare cards? Why do your lines make me sound like the final boss? My turn. Drawl. Beauregard drew, his arm arcing dramatically. Activate Allure of Darkness, draw 2, then banish a dark monster from my hand. Motivated, Beauregard drew 2. Seeing the cards, Briar gaped. That card, you drew it, now, of all times. Beauregard, you really? He quickly regained composure. Summon it, Beauregard. This is proof of our bond, our comeback. All right. Beauregard showed a card. First, banish Goblin Black Ops for Allure's effect. He banished one card, then slapped down the one he'd just drawn. I tribute Helosaurus to advance summon appear, the card that connects our bond. Level 6, Prime Material Dragon. Helosaurus vanished in the tribute vortex, replaced by a golden, abstract dragon emerging from the light. Prime Material Dragon, ATK 2400. At the last moment, he drew a level 6 tribute monster and its Prime Material Dragon. Misawa said. Exactly, Alexis nodded. As long as Prime Material Dragon is on the field, all effect damage becomes LP gain. It's the ultimate counter to burn and lock decks. This way, the bound monster leaves, Nightmare Wheel is destroyed. Briar instructed. Now, equip. Beauregard played another card. Equip Spell Megamorph. If my LP is lower than yours, the equipped monster's ATK is doubled. Prime Material Dragon, ATK 2400 4800. 4800 ATK. Misawa exclaimed. See? If Briar can overcome his weak will, he's a great duelist. The opponent's monsters are all in defense, so let's start with the biggest threat, Briar said. Beauregard nodded. Prime Material Dragon attacks Ojima King. The dragon spat blazing energy, Ojima King was blasted to bits, mumbling Ojima, Ojima as it faded. Of course, destroying a defense position monster means I take no damage, Kira said calmly, closing his eyes as a transparent shockwave swept his field. TCH, we know, Briar said. Set our other card. Beauregard complied, set a card, turn end. My turn. Draw, Kira said. In your standby phase, Boganian's effect deals 600 damage to me, Beauregard said, but with Prime Material Dragon, it becomes LP gain. Beauregard, LP 2100 2700. Whoa, accidentally healed you. Now my burn/lock strategy is backfiring, Kira said. That's right, Briar said, a bit smug. Our bond just turned the game around. Impressive. Now I activate Pot of Avarice, shuffle 5 monsters from my graveyard into the deck, then draw 2. 5 cards shot back into the deck. I return Magical Merchant, Ojima Yellow, Green, Black, and Ojima King. The deck auto-shuffled. Now, draw 2. After drawing, Kira raised an eyebrow. Hey, looks like I drew something pretty good too. Beauregard and Briar tensed. What now? But it was okay. Briar calmed himself. Beauregard's Allure of Darkness draw had netted not only the comeback Prime Material Dragon but also the powerful trap Bottomless Trap Hole. If the opponent summoned a monster with over 1500 ATK, it could be destroyed and banished. So even if Kira summoned a big threat, they could deal with it. I tribute Boganian to advance summon. As he placed down the monster, a red light flashed in Kira's eyes. As if the extraordinary power of the card fused briefly with the duelist at the moment of summoning. The Bane of Traps, the psychic-powered artificial monarch. Jinso, summon. Beauregard and Briar, Nanny. Chapter 183, Cyberblader Lock. Jinso, ATK 2400. This was its first appearance since it entered Kira's hand. It seemed Spirit Jinso had made up his mind to create the most overwhelming entrance possible for this debut. Mist rolled across the field. Red beams shot out from its eyes, piercing the fog. Its metallic body strode forward at a slow, steady pace. The King of Steel crossed its arms, its gaze radiating the confidence and arrogance of a ruler looking down from above. Electric arcs danced all over its body. Its proud, Dismissive eyes seemed to say, with a powerful master like mine, and me at his side, together we are invincible. Briar's face turned grim. He hadn't expected it to be Jinzo. Doesn't this mean their powerful back row was now basically useless? I activate the spell card Metamorphosis, Kira said calmly. I tribute one monster on my field, and special summon a fusion monster of the same level from my extra deck. I tribute my level 6 Jinzo. Jinzo, who had been getting ready to show off in its debut. Nanny? You're attributing me? No way, boss. This is my first time. How could you treat my debut like this? But the spell card had already appeared. Jinzo's form dissolved into golden light and vanished. Beauregard and Briar were both dumbfounded. He tribute Jinzo? Isn't that great? No matter what comes out next, doesn't that mean all their traps in the back row will come back to life? According to Metamorphosis's effect, I special summon from the extra deck in defense position. Level 6, Cyberblader. In the real TCG, Cyberblader was adjusted to level 7, but in the anime, it was level 6. That's why Alexis could often equip it with Fusion Weapon, which only works on fusion monsters of level 6 or below. After it changed to 7 stars, that combo became impossible. Cyberblader, Def 800. Alexis. What's with this sudden change in deck style? She wasn't surprised Kira had his cards. Since he was always researching, she knew he had a lot of cyber cards. But who would have thought that in the middle of this lockdown strategy, he'd suddenly bust out a card with such a completely different vibe? Then, recalling the effect of her own fusion ace, she suddenly seemed to understand something, and her eyes widened in shock at the possibility she had just now realized. Muta! Briar shouted. No matter what kind of monster it is, as long as we trap it, it's all the same. Beauregard, activate the trap. Beauregard, activating trap bottomless trap hole. Destroy and banish any opponent's monster with ATK 1500 or more that is summoned. The bottomless trap hole appeared beneath Cyberblader's feet. But Cyberblader merely glanced down through its visor, swept its icy blade across the ground, and the hole snapped shut as if it never existed. WHY! Briar exclaimed. The activation was successful. Your monster should have been destroyed. Cyberblader is a monster whose effect changes based on the number of monsters on your opponent's field, Kira explained calmly. When your opponent controls exactly 3 monsters, all effects of their spells, traps, and monsters are negated. Old effect. Nanny. The two nearly jumped up in unison, eyes wide as saucers. All their effects, negated? Then how are we supposed to play? The updated effect in the real card game is that it only negates activated effects of the opponent, while continuous spells and similar effects still work. But in the anime, the old effect was in play, where all effects of the opponent's cards became completely nullified and almost impenetrable lock. This is why, although Cyberblader didn't seem that great in the anime, it later became the core of one of the most infamous lock decks in Yu-Gi-Oh history. The lock deck's concept was simple: use the common disruption cards of lockdown decks at the time, and combine them with Cyberblader's third effect to form an absolute lock. It was also simple to set up. Give your opponent 3 disruption tokens, meeting the 3 monsters on the field requirement. Then use Ground Collapse or the Ojima Fusion monster's effect to seal off the remaining 2 zones. As long as Cyberblader stays on the field, it forms an almost invincible ultimate seal. And the pioneers of this combo were even more devious than Kira. Those pioneers discovered this combo and exploited a loophole in the tournament rules at the time, building a deck known as TOD, Time Over Death, the ultimate stall deck. Using the lockdown combo with Cyberblader, once the lock was set up, the opponent couldn't do anything, they could only draw 1 card per turn and stare helplessly. At this point, someone might ask, but how do you win yourself? The answer: by having a higher LP than your opponent. Back then, there was no rule for surrendering in Yu-Gi-Oh!, and matches were best of 3 with a 40-minute time limit. If the time limit was reached, whoever had a higher LP at the end won the entire match. TOD decks exploited this loophole. Once the lock was set, the deck would stop attacking and just use LP recovery effects to stall for time. When time ran out, you'd win the match by the rules, not just one duel, but the entire match. This kind of rules lawyering was so disgusting that even the infamous Victory Dragon had to bow out. And anyone who dared bring such an ultimate stall deck, making their opponent sit through 40 minutes of hell, had to be ready for a physical duel afterward. Damn it, Briar gritted his teeth. Beauregard, despairing, with all spell, trap, and monster effects forever negated, doesn't that mean we're... Wait, don't panic, Briar said through clenched teeth. Cyberblader's effect only works when there are exactly 3 monsters on our field. If we summon one more next turn and make it 4, the lock will break. That's right. Beauregard realized. He couldn't help but admire Briar for immediately spotting the loophole in such a dire situation. Kira smiled. Then, I activate the effect of the trap card Ojima Duo in the graveyard. I banish it to special summon 2 Ojima monsters from my deck. I special summon the just shuffled back Ojima Yellow and Ojima Green. Ojima Yellow, Def 1000. Ojima Green, Def 1000. Next, I activate the spell card Polymerization, fusing Ojima Yellow and Ojima Green on my field. Fusion Summon. In the vortex of fusion, silver armor appeared, a dark green cape fluttered, and a clownish knight with snail eyes and a shield spun down onto the field. Fusion Summon Ojima Knight. Ojima Knight, Def 2500. Ojima Knight's effect. Kira declared. While it's on the field, I can choose up to 2 monster zones on your field. Those zones can't be used. So I'll seal your last 2 monster zones. Beauregard, dot. Briar, dot. What the hell did you just say? Ojima Knight waved its hand, and 2 copies leaped out, sitting on the last 2 open monster zones and sealing them completely. The 2 of them were instantly dumbfounded. Now their monster count was exactly 3, and the last 2 zones were sealed off. And they couldn't use any card effects. Beauregard couldn't help but mutter, Briar. He trailed off, but the implication was clear, are we dead now? Damn it, it's not over yet. Briar gritted his teeth, looking at their prime material dragon. They still had prime material dragon. There was still hope. Even though Megamorph was negated and prime material dragon's ATK dropped back to 2400, it was still enough to break through the self-locking core, Cyberblader. As long as they could break the lock. Submarineroid switches back to attack position, Kira said. Attack directly. Another torpedo blasted Beauregard, leaving him covered in soot by the virtual explosion. Beauregard, LP 2700 LP 1900. Then, Submarineroid switches back to defense position by its effect. Kira played another card. I set a card and end my turn. Draw. Briar shouted. Beauregard drew as instructed and immediately followed up, use Prime Material Dragon to attack Cyberblader. Muta, Kira snapped his fingers. I activate my set card, Continuous Trap Gravity Bind. All level 4 or higher monsters on both sides cannot attack. Briar spat blood. He was done, completely done. With their attacks sealed, it was their death sentence. This gravity bind was also nearly unbreakable. With Cyberblader suppressing everything, there was no way to get rid of this attack lock, not with Mystical Space Typhoon, Heavy Storm, or Giant Trunad. And if they couldn't destroy Cyberblader, they couldn't use any card effects at all. Even if they drew another high-level monster and tribute Prime Material Dragon to summon it, it was pointless. The monster count would still be 3, so Cyberblader's lock would remain. And Ojima tokens couldn't be tribute for tribute summons, so trying to reduce their monster count that way wouldn't work. All their monsters were in defense position, so they couldn't crash tokens for self-destruction, either. Some people are alive, but they're already dead. My turn, draw, Kira revealed his card. I activate Monster Reborn to resurrect Boganian in defense position. Boganian, Def 1000. Everyone, dot. This card inflicts 600 damage to your opponent during each of your standby phases. It wouldn't be long before Beauregard and Briar were picked off, one shot at a time, by Boganian. Death by 1,000 cuts. But in the end, they didn't wait that long. Seeing that Briar was on the verge of a meltdown, Beauregard, fearing he might do something drastic, hurriedly surrendered while he still could. Otherwise, he was worried his teammate might lose it. Chapter 184, The President's Generosity. No one doubted the outcome of this duel from the start. No matter how legendary this spider monster who hunts for rare cards was rumored to be, he wouldn't be able to beat the big villain. But what opened everyone's eyes was the special lock by Cyberblader. Even Misawa was at a loss for words. He thought he'd gotten used to Kira's bizarre tactics, but he still always got thrown off by his unpredictable moves. Alexis was even more shocked, probably the most stunned of anyone there. Even after the duel ended, Alexis was still full of question marks. Hey? Is that how you use Cyberblader? In fact, throughout the entire anime, Alexis only ever used that powerful third effect once when her opponent just happened to have 3 monsters, and she used it for a one-turn kill. So actually, she'd rarely used the third effect. But after watching Kira's performance today, she felt like a new world had opened up to her. It was just a hunch, but she felt that the world beyond this door, though vast, might also be extremely dark. Once you step through, you might never come back. Having finally recovered from the duel torture, Briar looked up at the sky with a long sigh. Maybe dueling isn't for me? Maybe I should just go home and farm. The next morning, Student Council. You found them already? Sika looked at Kira in surprise. You only heard about this mysterious duelist the day before yesterday, and today you've already caught them. Yet. I was busy the previous evening, so I had to postpone it by a day and only took action last night, Kira replied. Kohinata Sika, ... So if you'd been free that night, you would have caught the culprit that very evening? Meanwhile, the student council had been investigating for days with no progress. You're making us look incompetent. Well, Kira, Sika sat back down, on behalf of all Obelisk Blue students, thank you. Oh, no need. It's just my duty as a student council officer. Kira waved magnanimously. But if Senpai insists on thanking me, I guess I'll reluctantly accept a couple of cards from the council's stash as a token. Sika, ... Wow, what a burden for you. Ahem, I didn't expect the culprit to be a RA yellow student. But for a yellow to defeat so many blue elites, RA truly has some talented students this year. Kira thought, what's so strange about that? In the neighboring ninja village, even the weakest genin can beat up the jonin sometimes. Life is unpredictable. Sometimes strange things just happen, Kira said. Sika glanced at him, then nodded deeply. You're the strangest thing of all. But I didn't expect you to bring back the stolen goods. She muttered. She glanced at the rare cards spread out on the table before her, all the ones stolen from the victims. Kira raised an eyebrow. Isn't this basic professionalism for us officers? After all, they were obtained illegally, against their owners' will, of course, they should be returned. It wasn't a surprise, but when Kira brought back those cards, Sika's mind flashed with doubt. Wait, you're a good guy. Up to now, every time Kira came to the student council, it was either to duel or to ask for cards. Given her own traumatic experience with Lava Golem and Nightmare Wheel, she'd instinctively pegged him as a villain. We'll handle returning these rare cards, Sika said. Thanks again on behalf of the victims. No need to thank me, it's just what I should do. But I have a small request. Kira smiled. How about this, before the victims claim their cards, let each of them duel me. Just friendly matches for practice, nothing more. What do you think, Senpai? Sika, ... What do I think? I think you've completely given up on acting normal. But Sika just smiled and folded her arms. Sure. After all, this was Duel Academy. A bit of friendly dueling never hurt anyone. Besides, she wanted to see it too. Surely, the scene would be interesting. Of course, this was very dangerous for me, Kira continued, feigning lingering fear. Those two were tough together. To represent the student council in upholding justice, I even risked my soul's card deck. It was a very close call in the end. Sika squinted at him. Very close? I think if they even scratched your LP, it'd be a miracle. But she didn't call him out. Instead, she turned and called, Sato, bring the storage room key. Coming. A student officer named Sato hurried over. Kira did a great job today. Take him to the storage room so he can pick out some cards as a reward. Okay. Sato nodded, but then remembered something and asked, wait, which section and how many cards, President? How would I know? Ask him yourself. Sika waved him away. Sato's jaw dropped. Hey? That casual? What if he just empties out the whole storage room? Go on, go on. Sika waved again. She didn't care anymore. She had a feeling that at this rate, it'd be no surprise if the whole Duel Academy belonged to Kira one day. So just let him be. President, you're so generous, Kira said politely. Then he cheerfully followed Sato to the storage room. Honestly, with a whole storage room of legal rare cards to choose from, who'd care about a couple of stolen ones? Although he'd already received a lot of rare cards as rewards, this was his first time entering the storage room. Most of the cards here were ones the Academy had gotten through official channels, but many rare cards had long since sold out and were no longer available anywhere else. Kira wandered around, picking and taking notes. Some cards he instinctively felt could be useful, but couldn't yet think of a combo for. He noted them down anyway, prioritizing cards he could use now. No rush, he could always come back. He was surprised to find a few alien cards as well. That was an old Yu-Gi-Oh archetype attribute reptiles, mainly focused on flip effects and flip-related mechanics. In his experience, any deck based on flip effects was usually pretty shady. But there were only a few in stock, not a full deck. He picked out a few interesting ones for future use. After picking and choosing, he walked out with more than 40 cards, enough for a whole deck. That's enough for now, Kira decided. After all, he couldn't empty out the student council's reserves. Sato watched, eyes green with envy. I want those too. But the president never lets me. Before leaving, Kira thanked Sika again. He also asked, by the way, how's that new deck you mentioned before, senpai? If you want, we could have another match and I can help you see what still needs adjusting. Sika immediately tensed up, then laughed awkwardly. My ideas are a bit stuck, I'm not ready yet. She sat up straight and pretended to be busy with her files. I also have a lot of work to do right now, what a coincidence. Maybe you can duel Sato for now? Next time, I promise I'll play. Sato. Why am I always the one who suffers? Chapter 185, Draw Bread. Professor Crowlier is such a pain. Jaden grumbled as he walked, kicking a pebble. He wants so many words for the dual theory report, and he wants it by the day after tomorrow. Ugh, writing reports is such a headache. He rubbed his head, messing up his jellyfish hair even more. Then, suddenly thinking of something, he glanced at his friend. Hey, SY, how about helping me out? But I haven't even started my own yet, big bro. Cirrus pulled a long face. Yeah, true. Jaden sighed and kept kicking the rock. The little pebble bounced away, trailing a line of dust. If only I could duel instead of writing reports. Chumley sweated. If it was a duel, no one could beat you, Jaden. Even Professor Crowlier himself. Nah, there are still some really strong guys at this school. Like Sai's brother, the guy they call Zane. He's amazing. Jaden's eyes sparkled with admiration. I just dueled him not long ago, but he's really strong. I lost. He summoned Cyber End Dragon with 8000 ATK and piercing damage. I lost in one turn. Carefree as always, Jaden didn't seem bothered by his loss. He even looked eager for a rematch. If even you couldn't beat him, that Zane must be something, Kira nodded. Haha, but don't worry Kira, you'll get a chance to duel him too. And we still haven't dueled. How about? No rush. Kira smiled. Let's wait for a bigger stage for our duel. I think that chance is coming soon. You should start getting ready. What do you mean? I'm always ready. Jaden declared, full of confidence. Kira nodded. That's true. Jaden was the type who worked best when playing freely. During Zane's graduation duel, he picked Jaden as his opponent. The night before, Jaden tried to strategize and adjust his deck, but that was the only time he tried to duel with his head and ended up disappointing Zane, who regretted picking him for the graduation match. According to Zane, maybe he thought Jaden was better at improvising. Just playing as he liked was when he was strongest. Hey, are you going to draw bread too, Kira? Cirrus asked. Yeah, it's good training for drawing cards. Kira smiled. The so-called draw bread was a special activity at the school store. The shop's specialty breads all looked identical from the outside, but each had a different filling. You wouldn't know what you got until you bit into it. The school's lore said the academy kept a magical golden chicken that laid a single golden egg every day. So, every day, only one bread would contain a golden egg, the rarest bread everyone wanted. The teachers encouraged students to practice their draw luck at the shop daily, so it was always packed during the event. Of course, there were rumors that the school's support for the shop was due to some special relationship, like the legend that Ms. Dorothy at the shop had a history with Chancellor Shepard. Some even claimed there was a secret tunnel from the Chancellor's office that led right behind the shop counter. But since that sounded ridiculous, most students dismissed it. However, Kira, having seen the anime, knew it was true. But to this day, no one knows the real reason for the tunnel. Even though the event hadn't started yet, the store was already packed when they arrived. Students lined up outside, all eager and excited. Don't push, everyone. One at a time. The lady from the shop tried to keep order. Jaden started blowing into his hands. Alright, this time I'm going to. Kira glanced at Jaden. You didn't get it the past 2 days either. Yeah, weird, right? Cirrus said. Big Bro had a streak of 20 wins before. He was called the king of the golden egg bread. Jaden's face fell. That's a terrible nickname, SY. But even Big Bro hasn't gotten it in days, Cirrus added. Kira thought for a moment. It must be about time for that drawbread maniac from the anime to make an appearance. That was Damon, a student who had disappeared from the academy a year ago. He'd gone to live in the mountains, practicing the art of perfect draw power. Now, having mastered it, he'd returned to test his skills, sneaking into the shop every night before the event to draw the golden egg bread and prove his power. Kira stroked his chin, considering. During early GX, Damon was a duelist he wanted to face, not because Damon was super strong, but to experience firsthand the aura of a master of draw luck. It would also be a test of his practice so far. Draw. Jaden drew a bread, tore open the bag, and took a bite, full of anticipation. Chestnut bread. He slumped to the ground, defeated. How could this happen, my right hand of the gods? Kira wasn't surprised. Of course there was no golden egg bread in the box, it was already stolen. Even if you were a cheater with perfect draw power, you can't get bread that's not there. Well, maybe you could. This event further proved that destiny power lets a duelist rewrite their destiny to some extent, not just in duels, but even in draw breads. Jaden's 20-win streak proved that you could cheat fate, even with bread. Kira himself had never drawn the golden egg, but neither had anyone else. Since the event began, the big prize was always taken by Jaden. However, Kira drew a bread, tore it open, and took a bite. Pizza bread. Not bad. So far, he'd never drawn a flavor he didn't like. Guess his training was paying off. Sorry, everyone. There's no golden egg bread here today, said Ms. Dorothy apologetically. Actually, for the past week, the golden egg bread's been stolen every day. Eh? Only the golden egg bread was stolen? Cirrus asked, shocked. That thief must be amazing. Jaden immediately looked annoyed. As if his king of draw status had been challenged. Alright, tonight we'll camp out here, Jaden declared, clenching his fist. We're going to catch that damn golden egg thief together. Chapter 186, Dueling to Test God Draws. Night at the school store. Draw. Jaden drew a card from the 2 remaining in Cirrus's hand. Ace of Hearts. Cirrus was left holding a single joker. Won again. Jaden leaned back in his chair, looking satisfied. Cirrus sighed. As expected of you, Big Bro. No matter what kind of draw game, you're unbeatable. You're basically cheating at Old Maid. Jaden turned toward Kira, who was busy typing away at his report on the computer. Hey, Kira, don't you want to play around? It's fun. I'll pass. Kira smiled. Still need to finish a bit more of this theory report. The Slifer Red Dorm trio instantly deflated like punctured balls. Ugh, still have that report. Jaden scratched his head. Cirrus, Big Bro, maybe we should go back and work on our reports. No way. Jaden shook his head. We can't just let that bread thief get away, can we? But it's just bread. I think the report is more important. Jaden was adamant, we don't have to turn it in until the day after tomorrow, right? There's still all day tomorrow. We can start writing then. Cirrus sighed. You always say that, Big Bro. Jaden then looked curiously at Alexis, who was also sitting at the back reading. By the way, why are you here? You after the bread thief too? Don't be silly. I just happened to have free time, Alexis replied. Kira glanced at her but didn't say anything. Ms. Dorothy brought out a tray of rice balls. Thanks for your hard work, everyone. Come have dinner. Oh. Rice balls from Ms. Dorothy. Jaden was excited. Ms. Dorothy beamed. There's pickled plum, beans, and salmon. But on the outside, they all look the same. I get it, so we're drawing rice balls now. Alright, watch me pull a salmon one. Jaden rubbed his hands together. My turn, draw rice ball. Without hesitation, he picked one, took a bite, and then triumphantly showed his filling, summoned salmon successfully. Cirrus was amazed. Big Bro's god right hand is as strong as ever. Jaden, proud of his form, grinned at Kira. How about it? Want me to pull a salmon one for you too? Thanks, but I'm good. Kira smiled, walked up, and casually picked one. Also salmon. Ha, not bad. Jaden patted him on the back. See, strong duelists have things in common. Kira just smiled without comment. Late at night. The school shop was closed and dark, surrounded by silence except for the occasional insect chirp and the whisper of the wind. The metal shutter was tightly shut, like a sleeping fortress. Until a faint sound broke the silence. Under the moonlight, the heavy shutter began to tremble, creaking softly. Then, bit by bit, someone began to force it up with brute strength. A shadowy figure crouched outside, using raw muscle to lift the locked, heavy shutter, just enough for a person to slip through. Everyone hiding in the darkness was shocked. What kind of strength is this? Lifting a locked metal shutter by arm strength alone, is this human? Even Kira fell into thought. So it's true what the anime said about dueling building physical strength. Training at cards really can make you superhuman. No wonder President Kaiba can free fall from helicopters and land like a superhero, must be all from dueling. That's far enough. The lights snapped on as Jaden leaped out. Sure enough, standing in the middle of the shop was a wild, muscular man, with messy long hair and a bare, tan torso like Tarzan himself. Startled, the wild man turned and ran, darting out the way he came. Everyone hiding burst out and gave chase. But the scene outside was even more shocking. The wild man dashed out, leaped into a tree, grabbed a vine, and swung into the woods. At the top of the arc, he let go, soared forward, grabbed a thick branch, did a nimble flip, and swung again, further and further away. Cirrus was dumbfounded. What is this, Tarzan? That strength, those moves, could a human do that? Curry. Winged Kuruba floated out. Yeah, I got it, buddy, Jaden nodded. Let's take the shortcut. Now that the thief had revealed himself and was being tracked by a spirit, there was no way he could escape for long. After swinging through the forest for a while, the wild man hopped down to catch his breath, only to hear voices in the bushes. Jaden and the others quickly caught up. The wild man, startled, was about to run again when Ms. Dorothy called out, Damon? Is that you? He stopped. It really is you. Ms. Dorothy was surprised. Jaden was confused. You know him? Damon used to be an Obelisk Blue student, Ms. Dorothy explained. He disappeared a year ago. I never thought he'd turn up here. Alexis immediately took note. She'd suspected this incident might be related to the Academy's missing students. Could this person be connected to her missing brother? It wasn't disappeared. I was training, Damon said gruffly. Compared to a year ago, I'm a changed man. Back then, I always ranked first in Obelisk Blue's written exams, but when it came to actual duels, I could never draw the cards I needed. No, it was worse than that. The more crucial the duel, the stronger my opponent, the more I'd draw exactly the wrong cards for every situation. He seemed lost in painful memories. The turning point was a year ago, in a critical practical test. My opponent summoned Jinzo on their first turn, and I drew 5 trap cards for my opening hand. Everyone. That's rough. Kira could relate. Yeah, a hand brick streak like that could drive anyone crazy. And in this world, bricking isn't just about probability, it's almost metaphysical. According to the school curriculum, Damon's aura was too weak. Whenever he faced a stronger opponent, their aura would suppress his, so he'd brick more often. Later, I realized the secret to drawing cards is hidden in nature. So I spent a year training in the mountains, becoming one with nature. Now, I've mastered it. Is that so? Kira smiled. What? Damon frowned. You've drawn the golden egg bread every day for a week, but you always come before the event even starts. What does that prove? You didn't even have competitors, did you? Kira smiled. If you take the bread before anyone else can, isn't that just playing single player? Dueling isn't a solo game, how can that prove you're better than others? Yeah, right. What? Damon's voice was heavy. Are you doubting my training? Not at all. I'm just saying your test method isn't very scientific. Then what do you suggest? My suggestion? Only practice proves the truth. Only dueling can validate your training. Kira lifted his duel disc, smiling. How about it, care to test yourself? Oh ho? Interesting. Damon grinned. You make sense. It's all for winning duels. If I can't improve in real combat, then a year of training is meaningless. Fine, I accept. Duel. X2. Jaden opened his mouth, wanting to speak, but realized too late he'd missed his chance. Wait, Kira just said exactly what I wanted to say. Feels like another duel I missed out on. P.S. Read advanced chapters at patreon.com/absolutecode. Chapter 187, A Little Swap. Duel. X2. Kira, LP 4000. Damon, LP 4000. I'll go first, then. Draw. Kira revealed a card from his hand. I activate the spell card Destruction. Both players discard their hands and draw the same number of cards. Damon discarded his hand and chuckled. So your starting hand was bad? Well, sometimes that happens. But if your skill isn't up to par, changing hands won't solve anything. He drew 5 new cards. That's not your concern. Kira smiled and drew a new hand. With his new 5 cards, he quickly picked one. I activate the spell card Delinquent Duo. Pay 1000 LP, randomly discard one card from your opponent's hand, then your opponent chooses and discards another. Kira, LP 4000 LP 3000. Discard 2 cards? Damon frowned. So, since you're not confident in beating my draw power, you're aiming to cripple my hand. Discard the 3rd card from the left, Kira said casually. Damon complied and picked another to discard. The Twin Devils snatched away 2 cards. Then I set a monster and set a card to my back row. End turn. Kira said. The spectators began to speculate about Kira's strategy. A hand destruction deck, right? I think I've seen Kira use that before, Chumley said. Alexis nodded. Cutting off the opponent's strategy before it forms, that's very Kira. If Damon has trained up some super draw power, then this is the right way to test it. Jaden muttered, darn, if I'd spoken up earlier, I might be dueling now. Cirrus' sweat dropped. Big bro, you're still thinking about that? Damon declared, trying to mess with my hand to disrupt my draw? It won't work against the fruits of my training. My turn, draw. At that moment, I activate my set card. Kira flipped his trap. Trap card drop off. The card you just drew goes straight to the graveyard. There it is, Kira's drop off. Cirrus said. No matter what he draws, it's useless now. Is it, though? Damon grinned. Let me show you all the secrets of my draw training. The card I drew is Despair from the Dark. He sent the monster card to the graveyard and revealed it. Despair from the Dark, a fiendish-looking zombie monster, with a hellish, demonic design. In GX, Chaz used it, it even appeared in Vrains as a relevant old card. Whenever Despair from the Dark is sent from hand or deck to the graveyard by an opponent's effect, it can be special summoned. So, I special summon Despair from the Dark. Appear. A hellish flame exploded, conjuring a phantom demon, purple-black claws, a twisted grin, and abstract horns. Despair from the Dark, ATK 2800. He drew Despair from the Dark. Cirrus gasped. Alexis was just as stunned. Was it just luck that he drew the perfect card for drop-off? Or maybe... Ha 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 ha. I told you, my draw is invincible now. Damon declared confidently. Bring your best tactics, my draw will overcome anything. Next, I activate the spell book from the pot. We both draw 3 cards from our decks. Then, I normal summon Infernal Dragon. Infernal Dragon, ATK 2000. Go. Infernal Dragon, attack the set monster. The face-down monster flipped up. It was Giant Rat. Giant Rat, def 1450. Giant Rat was crushed and sent to the graveyard. Kira searched his deck and pulled out a card. When Giant Rat is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, I special summon an earth monster with 1500 or less ATK from my deck in attack position. I special summon Pyramid Turtle. Pyramid Turtle, ATK 1200. Then, Despair from the Dark, attack Pyramid Turtle. Damon ordered. Break through that wall right now. The demon's claws struck down, and the giant turtle with a pyramid on its back was shattered. Kira, LP 3000 LP 1400. Pyramid Turtles effect. When destroyed by battle, I special summon a zombie monster with 2000 or less def from my deck. I special summon. Kira slapped down the selected card. Special summon Ryu Koki. A chilling aura filled the field, a hulking, monstrous skeleton, seemingly pieced together from countless bones, each one clear and distinct. Skulls intertwined and piled up into a massive, twisted frame. Its eyes burned with ghostly fire, a wicked grin between razor fangs. Ryu Koki, ATK 2400. Just seeing it, Cirrus shivered, muttering, "Why do Kira's monsters always feel so ominous?" So that's it, using double floaters to climb straight to a high-level powerhouse. Humph, impressive tactic. But it's no match for my despair from the dark. Damon puffed out his chest. In the end, tactics and deck building have their limits. Only the truth of dueling lies in the draw. He played 2 more cards. I set 2 cards and end my turn. Then he pointed at his Infernal Dragon. During the end phase of a turn, Infernal Dragon attacks, it's destroyed. Infernal Dragon exploded with a bang, wiped out by its own 2000 ATK drawback. My turn, draw. Kira drew and played a card. Summon Mystic Tomato. Mystic Tomato, ATK 1400. In attack position. Damon frowned. Such a weak monster. I admit, your draw is impressive. I didn't expect Despair from the Dark to suddenly appear very strong. Kira praised him sincerely. To be honest, I don't have any monsters right now that can beat it. Damon's smirk grew. But then Kira continued. If I can't beat it, I'll just borrow it. I activate the spell card Creature Swap. Both players choose a monster on their field and trade control. Damon's smile vanished. Chapter 188, Drawber. Creature Swap. Damon's face darkened. That's right. I choose my Mystic Tomato to give you. Kira smiled. And you have no choice but to give me your only monster. TCH. Damon, grim-faced, chose his only monster, Despair from the Dark. The demon crossed over to Kira's field, the little tomato hopped over to Damon's. Battle phase, Kira said. Ryu Koki, attack Mystic Tomato. Ryu Koki surged forward, its skeletal fist crushing the tomato. The little tomato exploded in a burst. Damon shielded himself, his sturdy frame taking the hit. Damon, LP 4000 LP 3000. At this moment, Mystic Tomato's effect activates. When destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, I special summon a dark monster with 1500 or less ATK from my deck. Cirrus, the underachiever, was surprised, "Hey? But Tomato was destroyed on the other side, shouldn't the opponent search their deck?" Chumley explained, "At resolution, Mystic Tomato is in its original owner's graveyard, so Kira gets the search." "Oh, I see." Cirrus glanced at Chumley. "Even you knew that?" He looked around at the others and suddenly realized he was the only noob here. According to Mystic Tomato's effect, I special summon Don Zalug from my deck. Don Zalug, ATK 1400. Damon scowled. "You used Creature Swap to make me take the damage, but you still get to search your deck." "And now, Despair from the Dark attacks directly," Kira said. Chumley, "Nice, if both attacks land, Kira will win." Alexis was less optimistic. "But will it be that easy?" "Sure enough," Damon declared, "Trap card Draining Shield. Your attack is negated, and I gain LP equal to the attacking monster's ATK. A glowing barrier appeared. The demon's heavy punch was absorbed. Damon, LP 3000 LP 5800. As expected, he used his trap to block the highest ATK monster. Then Don Zalug attacks directly. Don Zalug drew his gun, and fired twice. One shot pierced Damon's chest, the other shattered a card in his hand. Ugh! Damon, LP 5800 LP 4400. Don Zalug's effect, when it inflicts battle damage, the opponent randomly discards a card. Damon glanced at the card his hand now displayed with a bullet hole through it, then chuckled. "Ha, too bad. The card your monster hit is the one I just drew." He revealed it. Spell card, Card of Compensation. When sent from the hand to the graveyard, I draw 2 cards. Again, the effect works against him. Cirrus frowned. "This guy's draw is something." Jaden rubbed his hands. "This is getting interesting. I want to duel him too." Kira, I set 2 cards and end my turn. At this moment, I activate my remaining set card. Damon's trap flipped. Continuous trap miracle draw. At the start of my draw phase, I declare a card name. If I draw that card, I inflict 1000 damage to my opponent. If not, I take 1000 damage. Anime version. Everyone was stunned. What a crazy trap! Alexis frowned. And you have to call a card from your entire deck? Isn't the chance of hurting yourself way higher? Cirrus said, baffled. So cool, really interesting. Jaden's eyes sparkled. My turn, I draw. Damon closed his eyes, finger resting on the top of his deck as if immersing his whole being in the moment of the draw. The truth of card drawing is like flowing water, unchanged for millennia. I can feel it. I can feel the next card is Drawber. Anime card. Damon swiftly drew and revealed it. It was the normal spell Drawber. No way. He drew it. Cirrus was stunned. Alexis was speechless, just looking this wild man up and down. Could he have gained the power to see the future of his duels in his mountain training? So, you take 1000 damage, Damon said. Amazing that you pulled it off, Kira said. But I activate the trap energy absorbing monolith. Any effect damage I take is converted to LP gain. A massive absorption panel appeared in front of him, soaking up the energy and turning it into golden light, which poured into Kira. Kira, LP 1400 LP 2400. As expected of Kira, Jaden cheered. Not so easy to beat. Damon nodded in satisfaction. If my opponent weren't this good, I couldn't test my training. Now, I activate the card I just drew, spell card Drawber. My opponent draws a card. If I can guess the type, monster, spell, or trap, all cards in their hand and field are shuffled back into their deck. Everyone was shocked again. What kind of effect is that? Alexis looked at Damon in disbelief. He can not only predict his draws, but his opponents too. That's basically a superpower. Kira drew a card as instructed. Damon closed his eyes for half a second, then snapped them open, pointing dramatically like a certain famous child detective. You drew a spell card. Kira chuckled, revealing his card. Spell card Pot of Greed. Correct. But Damon seemed to be holding back a little when he used Drawber in the anime. He not only guessed Jaden had drawn a spell, he even called the exact card Diffusion. He could even predict the specific card, definitely supernatural. Of course, it wasn't always stable. In the anime, his next turn he guessed wrong. Seems he was eventually overwhelmed by Jaden's aura, and his draws fell apart. So, according to Drawber's effect, Damon swept his arm. All cards in your hand and on your field, shuffle them back into your deck. Chapter 189, The Fate-Deciding Draw. Kira shuffled all the cards in his hand and on the field back into the deck in one go. Cirrus was shocked. Isn't that bad for him? This mountain guy's draw power is really that strong. Jaden's eyes sparkled even more. Amazing, I'm itching to duel him myself. He just wiped out all my resources in one swoop. Kira gave a helpless look and shrugged. Not bad. But before that, I activated this card. He pointed to another face-down card that had already been set by his side. Only then did Damon notice. He had just been concentrating with his eyes closed and hadn't realized this card had been activated. Trap card, Destruct Potion. Destroy one monster on your field and recover LP equal to that monster's ATK. Kira pointed to his Ryukoki on the field. Destroy Ryukoki and gain LP equal to its attack. Kira, LP 2400 LP 4800. Hat, trying to make the most of your last remaining resources at the final moment? Well, do as you wish. Damon waved his hand. But after that, all the cards in your hand and on your field are shuffled back into your deck. All of Kira's cards on the field immediately turned into golden lights and flew back into his deck. Even Despair from the Dark was returned to Damon's deck. In an instant, the field was cleared. You can still remain so calm in this situation. Looks like you're not ordinary either, Damon said. But how long can you keep your composure? I summon Berserk Gorilla. Berserk Gorilla, ATK 2000. Attack directly with Berserk Gorilla. The Crimson Gorilla let out a furious roar and spewed scorching flames from its mouth. But as the swirling flames neared Kira, they suddenly struck an ethereal barrier. A ghostly image appeared before him, blocking the attack like a shield. Necrogardna in the graveyard, Kira said. Banish this card from my graveyard during your turn. One of your monsters attacks this turn becomes ineffective. One of the 5 cards discarded at the start by card destruction, right? Damon nodded. Even if your hand and field are wiped, you still have moves set up in the graveyard. For those of us who aren't as confident in our draw luck as you, we can only be well prepared, Kira smiled. You are indeed an excellent duelist. But relying on these things has its limits. That's what I've realized. Only the draw can truly decide the outcome. Damon revealed another card from his hand. Continuous spell, Heart of the Underdog. If you draw a normal monster during your draw phase, reveal it to your opponent and draw another card. Yet another card that supports drawing. Everyone exchanged glances. Just how obsessed is this guy with drawing cards? Everyone was shocked. Oh no, Alexis said in a low voice, Damon still has that continuous trap, Miracle Draw, on his field. If he declares the name of the card he draws during his draw phase and draws it, he can deal 1000 damage to his opponent. Chumley realized, and with Heart of the Underdog, as long as he keeps drawing normal monsters, he can keep drawing cards. So as long as he keeps declaring the cards he draws, he can keep going. And each time he draws the right card, he deals 1000 damage. Cirrus was stunned. Is there such a broken combo? Draw OTK? My deck is now built entirely around drawing cards, Damon said confidently. My turn ends. Kira placed his hand on his deck. No cards in hand, no cards on the field, nothing visible to play. To prepare for this situation, he still had some backup options in the graveyard. But those were just insurance. As Damon said, in this world, duels are still decided by draws. No matter how strong your tactics, formations, or deck building are, when facing a truly strong opponent, you must rely on drawing cards to carry out your strategies. Maybe not every draw is a miracle, but you need to at least perform stably against strong opponents. Since enrolling, he'd acquired more and more spirit, and his drawing skills had improved. Today's duel was the perfect opportunity to test those skills. Having nothing in hand or on the field is always when a duelist's potential is pushed to the limit. If he has mastered the heart of cards, then this draw must be. Cirrus swallowed nervously, this draw might decide the winner. Kira probably won't. It'll be fine, Jaden was even more confident than Kira himself, smiling. Kira is a true duelist. There's no way he'll have a problem. Kira closed his eyes. He recalled his training, feeling the resonance from his deck, the moment of soul fusion between duelist and deck. Draw. Kira smiled faintly. He did it. I drew Elemental Hero Bublemon, he revealed his hand. If this is the only card in my hand, I can special summon it. Elemental Hero Bublemon, ATK 800. Cirrus's eyes widened, it's the same as Big Bros. They all knew when Jaden is empty-handed and the field is clear, he almost always draws Bublemon. Of course, Kira didn't use Elemental Hero as his main deck, Bublemon was just a tech-in. After all, anime Bublemon is basically like Pot of Greed, nearly every deck can use him. Oh, Bublemon. Jaden happily put his hands on his hips. Ha ha ha, it's proof of our burning friendship. With Bublemon summoned and no other cards on the field, I draw 2 cards. Kira drew, then played another card from his hand. Spell card Pot of Greed, draw 2 more cards from the deck. Damon was shocked, the card you drew with Drawber and shuffled back earlier. He was now even more certain this person wasn't just strong in tactics and setups, his draw power was also outstanding. Exactly the kind of powerful opponent he craved. Jaden wasn't surprised at all, he just laughed, told you, Kira is a true duelist. This is just normal for him. Serious. True. For others, this would be a miracle, but for Jaden, it's just a basic attack. Then, the effect of Mizuki in the graveyard, Kira said, banish this card from my graveyard to special summon 1 zombie monster from my graveyard. Damon frowned, he still has backup like this. So, I banish Mizuki and revive Ryukoki from the graveyard. Ryukoki, ATK 2400. As expected, Alexis smiled, Kira is strong, he's not the type to put all his hopes on draws. Ryukoki, resurrected. Ryukoki, attack Berserk Gorilla. The Crimson Gorilla tried hard to resist the demon's onslaught but was ultimately shattered to pieces. Damon, LP 4400 LP 4000. Bublemon, direct attack. Bublemon raised his water blaster and showered Damon with a flurry of bubbles. Damon crossed his arms to shield himself but still got drenched. Damon, LP 4000 LP 3200. Then, I set a monster face down in defense position, Kira said, and activate quick play spell Malice Dispersion. Discard a card, destroy all continuous trap cards on the field. He discarded a card to the graveyard. Continuous trap Miracle Draw destroyed. Damon glanced at his destroyed back row trap. So you stopped my draw OTK combo. And the card I discarded was the same spell card as you used earlier, Card of Compensation. I draw 2 more cards from my deck. Kira drew again. He smiled. Finally, it's here. He had been waiting for this, the strongest combo lying dormant in his deck until now. I set 2 cards and end my turn. Next goal, 500 PS. Chapter 190, Complete Hand Destruction. Impressive, Damon straightened up and spoke loudly. But my year of training wasn't in vain. My turn. Damon said. Continuous spell Heart of the Underdog. If I draw a normal monster during my draw phase, I can reveal it and draw another card. I drew Doran. An original anime card. A monster Damon used in the anime 2-star, ATK 900, normal monster. So, I use Heart of the Underdog to draw another card. Damon drew again. This time, I drew the normal monster Gagagigo. He hit again. I draw another card. Damon drew again. This time, it's a second Doran, draw again. Using Heart of the Underdog, Damon drew 7 cards in a row, all normal monsters. Finally, on the 8th, he didn't get a normal monster. This time, he drew his ace, the anime original Drawler, a level 3 effect monster. Finally stopped. Cirrus wiped his sweat. That was terrifying. But, even though he drew so many cards, they're all normal monsters, right? Chumley said. Having a handful of normal monsters isn't that useful. But his question was soon answered. It's Drawler, Alexis said seriously. The last monster he drew was Drawler. When summoned, you can shuffle any number of cards from your hand into your deck, and it gains 500 ATK for each. Drawler, level 3, ATK? Effect, when summoned, shuffle any number of cards from your hand into your deck, this card's ATK becomes that number x 500. If it destroys an opponent's attack position monster by battle, that monster is shuffled to the bottom of the opponent's deck instead of going to the graveyard. Everyone was shocked. So there's a combo like this? At first, drawing a bunch of normal monsters with Heart of the Underdog didn't seem useful, but when combined with this monster, shuffling all 7 into the deck at once gives it 3500 ATK, higher than the legendary Blue Eyes White Dragon. Ha ha ha, not bad. Damon laughed. Now, let me show you the power of my soul card. I normal summon. Before that, I activate my face down, trap card Desert Sunlight, Kira said. All monsters on my side of the field become face-up defense position. Damon frowned, trying to switch to defense position to block my attack. Or is it? All my monsters become face-up defense position. My set monster is also flipped up, Kira said. That card is Morphing Jar. With a mischievous grin, the jar flipped face up, unleashing its power. Morphing Jar's effect, when flipped, both players discard all cards in their hands, then draw 5 cards each. Damon understood. I see. Using Morphing Jar to force me to discard my whole hand, I can't use the Drawler combo. But his lips curled into a cold smile. So what? My draw power is absolute. The 5 new cards I draw will still give me a winning combo. Sorry, but no. Kira snapped his fingers. Chain activation, another face-down card, trap card back to the front. Special summon a monster from my graveyard in face-up defense position. The card I choose to bring back is. A card popped out from his graveyard. Protector of the Sanctuary. Protector of the Sanctuary, Def 1900. Damon. What's that? Why go out of your way to bring back a 1900 Def wall? What's the point? But he quickly understood. Kira smiled and explained, Protector of the Sanctuary. As long as this card is face-up on the field, your opponent can't draw cards except during the draw phase. Damon thought for a moment. Wait, let me get this straight. Morphing Jar's effect, both players discard all cards, then draw 5. Protector of the Sanctuary, as long as it's on the field, your opponent can't draw except during the draw phase. Damon. Nanny? The onlookers all gasped. This move is complete hand destruction. That's right. After Morphing Jar's effect, you must discard all your cards, but you can't draw new ones. Kira smiled as he drew 5 cards from his deck. According to Morphing Jar's effect, I draw 5 cards. Damon. Everyone. After a moment of silence, Chumley said, how should I put this? That's a really strong combo. Why yeah, Cirrus said. They all looked at Kira with a bit of fear in their eyes. Sure enough, Kira's duels are terrifying. He always finds fancy new ways to stop his opponent from playing. Damon was now half in shock. Just after drawing a huge hand, before he even warmed up, all his cards were dumped into the graveyard. Then, with the majesty of Protector of the Sanctuary, it was as if his deck had been put in invisible shackles. Every card was locked in the deck. He could no longer hear the voice of his deck. Damon opened his mouth, face full of bitterness, unable to speak. He desperately wanted to use the invincible draw power he'd trained for a year to find a way. But he couldn't. Because damn it, he couldn't even draw a card, let alone use his draw skills. So, he racked his brain, searching for any remaining possibility, a way to break through, but all that echoed in his mind was 2 words. Give up. How am I supposed to play? How am I supposed to duel with no cards? You tell me. How could this happen? A wild man lost his dream, muttering to himself. I trained so hard and finally reached this level. Duels are about drawing cards. Draw power should decide everything. Why? Thinking back on his year of hard training, all the frustration and unwillingness, and combining that with this utterly locked down situation, Damon was almost brought to tears by the injustice. The onlookers were silent. Even though they were on Kira's side, they couldn't help but feel a little sympathy for the wild man on the other side. Well, if you're not going to do anything, then it's my turn. Kira smiled. My turn. Draw. He now had 6 cards in hand, plenty of options. But, being kind-hearted, and seeing that his opponent was out of options, he decided to end the duel quickly and put Damon out of his misery. Switch all my monsters from defense to attack position, Kira declared. Then Ryukoki, Elemental Hero Bublemon, and Protector of the Sanctuary attacked Damon directly. Ryukoki, ATK 2400. Elemental Hero Bublemon, ATK 800. Protector of the Sanctuary, ATK 1100. Damon was knocked flat, lying on the ground, eyes empty, completely unresponsive. Damon, LP 3200 LP 0. Chapter 191, Jaden's Miracle Draw Workshop. In 2004, a seemingly useless but notorious card appeared on the scene. Its name was Protector of the Sanctuary. Level 4, 1900 def. Its effect, as long as it's on the field, your opponent can't draw cards except during their draw phase. At first glance, people thought of Pot of Greed, a generic staple that everyone played before it was banned. Seemed to have some practical value, but not much early on. It didn't see much play in meta decks. Until a deck built entirely around it was created. Hand Destruction Sanctuary Lockdown. The idea is simple: keep Protector of the Sanctuary on the field, then use a hand shuffling effect to make your opponent discard, but prevent them from drawing new cards. Your opponent is dead in the water. Just like Kira did in the duel. It seems like all you need is card destruction and Protector of the Sanctuary in hand to combo. As long as Protector of the Sanctuary is on the field, use card destruction. Your opponent discards their hand, but can't redraw. But it's not that simple. While Protector of the Sanctuary is on the field, effects that make your opponent draw including card destruction can't be activated. So if you summon Protector of the Sanctuary first, you can't use card destruction. But that didn't stop the mischievous duelists of the past. If you can't activate card destruction while Sanctuary is on the field, activate card destruction first and, before resolution, chain something like Call of the Haunted to revive Protector of the Sanctuary from the graveyard. When the effect resolves, your opponent discards all cards but can't draw. Immediate game over. Or use another effect like Morphing Jar to achieve the same combo. This deck is mainly for fun. While it can compete, it wasn't that strong in the chaos of its era. The joy is in the trolling. Of course, this is also the kind of deck that can turn a card game into a real fight. Especially if you open strong first turn, your opponent loses their entire hand before even playing, maybe next they'll want to fist fight you for real. Sure enough, after Kira packed up his duel disc, the silent magician materialized in spirit form, staff at the ready to protect her master. She probably sensed her master might get attacked after a duel like that. Especially since Damon is a wild, muscle-bound super Tarzan who could rip metal doors apart. If he got angry and started throwing punches, it really wouldn't be surprising. But it didn't happen. After the duel, Damon collapsed, and his cards scattered everywhere, looking as if he'd lost a shadow game. Well, his faith shattered, lifeless expression did look like someone who lost a shadow game. This isn't right. Duels shouldn't be like this. He muttered. Duels are about drawing cards, drawing is the truth. It shouldn't be like this. What was I doing all year? Chumley couldn't bear to watch. Crap, another one's gone crazy. Kira's Victims Club +1. Poor Damon spent a year isolated from the world, immersed in his world. If he'd just come back to the academy for a couple of months, he'd be mentally prepared for the weird meta here, and wouldn't be doubting his whole life. But not just Damon, even Chumley himself started to worry after watching all these duels. Even after all his training, Damon still got wrecked by troll decks. What will become of the academy's future? Only Jaden was still the same as ever. Wow, amazing! That was such a fun duel, what a cool tactic. Kira, you're so strong. And you too, Damon, you're both amazing, ha ha ha. Damon looked at Jaden with dead eyes. Fun? What's fun about this? Why don't I feel that way? But, I think your way of thinking is a bit off. Dueling and drawing cards have nothing to do with nature and all that, Jaden stepped forward. Your draw power is great, but how should I say this? He frowned, thinking. I'm not good with words. But I feel like, you always talk about becoming one with nature and all that, but that's not what dueling is about. Every time a duelist draws a card, it's like creating a new world. Every draw is creating the future. Instead of becoming part of the world, it's more like you're making your world. Instead of those random ideas, just immerse yourself in the duel itself. Anticipate the miracle the next draw might bring, get so excited you can't sit still. That's the real meaning of dueling, isn't it? Damon was confused, is that really how it is? 10 minutes earlier, his confident self would have scoffed at Jaden's theory and insisted his path was right. But after experiencing the helplessness of the last duel, he wasn't so sure anymore. He even started to doubt. Maybe I trained the wrong way? Kira. Yet, talent-based and hard work-based duelists do have their theories. Kira didn't dare make conclusions about miracle draws, but Jaden's approach seemed to be all about following your heart. Compared to Damon's focused training, Jaden had no clear goal. He didn't think about what he wanted to draw, or what he didn't. Even in desperate situations, he didn't think if only I could draw XXX now, I could win. Jaden just let the deck do whatever it wanted. Maybe, for him, thinking too much about specific draws would ruin the excitement and anticipation of dueling. Precisely because the next card is unknown, he gets excited. If that's true, then Jaden's approach is different from the previous king of games, Yami Yugi. Yugi, at his peak, was the type to draw exactly what he needed, while Jaden just floors the gas and lets the wheel spin. But that was just Kira's guess. He was still learning about the art of the miracle draw. Of course, that's how it is. Jaden was completely confident in his theory, patted Damon on the shoulder, and said with a grin. Kira thinks so too, right? Kira, do I? See, he agrees, Jaden said seriously to Damon. Kira. Let's just go with that, then. Next goal, 1000 PS, 2 chapters. Chapter 192, Culture Festival. Somewhere, unknown location. Cold iron walls seemed to freeze endless darkness, swallowing every trace of light that tried to seep in. The room's walls and ceiling were especially dim under the cold lighting, with sharp corners occasionally gleaming in the dark. 3 pairs of icy eyes lit up in the darkness. It's about time, said one of the shadows. The shadow beside him spoke in a deep voice, orders from Father, Alpha. The one called Alpha nodded. In 2 days, the target is Duel Academy. So we're finally moving, said a third, even larger shadow, grunting. But the target is just Duel Academy? Here I am coming out of retirement, only to face some students. How boring. The second shadow asked, so, Gamma, what kind of opponent would satisfy you? Only the legendary king of games, that annoying Yugi Muto. The other two immediately looked at him like he was an idiot. But the tall figure called Gamma puffed up his chest, "My very existence is to challenge the pinnacle of duelists. If it's not against the strongest, it's meaningless. Yugi, who knows where he's hiding now, but one day, I'll drag him out to face me." The other two simply ignored the big guy lost in his world. "Beta, this is the first time Father has handed a mission directly to us." Alpha's tone was low and grave. "This operation is crucial. We have two objectives, you know that, right?" "Of course." The shadow called Beta nodded. "I've received the data." But after a pause, he added with confusion. "I understand the primary objective. But the secondary target, this Fujiki Kira, he's just a first year at Duel Academy. Don't underestimate him just because he's a student. If Father has set his sights on him, he must have something special. We don't need to understand Father's motives, just follow orders." Alpha paused, then solemnly warned. "Also, if you face the secondary target, be careful. Data shows his dueling style is highly unusual. He's skilled at unsettling minds, interfering with the opponent's thinking, making it hard for them to perform or even act rationally during a duel." The big guy Gamma suddenly interjected, Just petty tricks. Messing with the mind and brain? Such tricks won't work on me." The other two's eyes lit up, both looking at him. "Oh? Do you have a special plan against him?" Gamma held his head high. "If I don't have a brain to mess with, how can he interfere or respond?" "Both." A moment of awkward silence. As if at a loss for words, they seemed to silently agree. "That makes a disturbing amount of sense." Gamma continued self-righteously, "Dueling only requires 99% strength and 1% thinking. As long as you have power, who cares about dirty tricks? You can just crush them." The other two again chose to ignore him. Beta said, "I still don't get why Father insists on sending this defective product out with us." Alpha, "Ahem, we don't need to understand Father's motives. He must have his reasons." At this point, Gamma stood off to the side, arms crossed, laughing loudly. "Ha ha ha. I suppose so." Alpha was suddenly not so confident. The Culture Festival was one of Duel Academy's most important events of the semester. When Kira first heard the term, it felt unfamiliar. He instinctively thought it must be something related to dueling culture. But upon arriving at the site, he immediately realized, this was a festival focused on food. The air was filled with the aroma of food, the smoke of grilling meats mixed with the sweetness of desserts. Colorful flags fluttered, ribbons swayed in the breeze, lending a festive atmosphere. From early morning, students in their three-colored uniforms had packed the venue, forming a sea of people. Besides food, the stalls were filled with all sorts of merchandise: dark magician accessories, chibi dark magician girl keychains, exquisite blue eyes white dragon models. Kira wandered through the crowd and soon spotted a familiar face. Misawa seemed to be instructing a fellow yellow dorm student. As he got closer, Kira recognized the other person. Wasn't his name Dimitri? Yes, in the anime, he stole Yugi's deck copy. Misawa's assessment of this guy was that he was a prodigy, skilled at imitating other duelists' tactics and personalities. Whatever deck he picked up, he could use smoothly, a unique talent. Kira agreed. Yugi's deck was infamous for bricking a mess of different systems cobbled together, only the most advanced duelists could pilot it. Yet Dimitri could steal it and play smoothly, never bricking, which was remarkable. If he had a flaw, it was that he never actually won. It was strange. Dimitri could play any deck without bricking, but only in that sense. Even with Professor Crowleyer's mighty ancient gear deck, he could still lose, not just to anyone, but even to Cirrus. Truly one of the world's unsolved mysteries. So, I'm telling you, Dimitri, even if I share my deck build with you, it's pointless, Misawa said, exasperated. A duelist's deck is powerful because it's built with their effort and care. Your ability to imitate and learn is first-rate, but in real duels, you're always restricted. Doesn't that tell you something? Misawa, apparently not noticing Kira nearby, was even using him as an example. Take Kira, for example. His strength is obvious. As much as I hate to admit it, he's far better than me, the top of Yellow Dorm. His strength comes from never following others, always forging his path. Even I can't keep up. Kira was silent. He felt a bit undeserving of such praise from Misawa. Truthfully, his decks, while self-built and strange in others' eyes, were often based on the collective wisdom of countless predecessors. So, while outsiders saw him blazing new, hidden trails, he was really driving down well-traveled highways, run over hundreds of times already. I understand. Dmitri nodded emphatically. I always thought Kira's decks looked stronger and more unique, and now I see you think so too. Alright, I know what to do next. Thanks for the guidance, Misawa. Misawa? No, what I meant to say was. But before he could finish, Dmitri had already dashed off into the crowd, seemingly so inspired he didn't even want to attend the festival anymore and was heading home to build decks. Misawa. Feels like there's been a misunderstanding again. Oh well, let him be. Read at least 135 advanced chapters at patreon.com/absolute code. Chapter 193, Joyful Festival Duels. A loud bell suddenly cut through the festival's buzz, slicing the air. The crowd fell silent, all eyes turning to the stage. The performers had already left, and now, from the duel club, the Busta senpai took the stage. To Kira's embarrassment, he still didn't know her actual name. Surprise duel! She announced with a smile, holding the mic. We're starting the festival's duel segment. Everyone, choose a random opponent nearby within 30 seconds and duel. Each win earns a point. In the end, the highest scorer will win a special prize from the duel club. The place fell silent. Kira instantly felt like all eyes, intentionally or not, had landed on him. In about a second, the atmosphere changed. It was like the paused world suddenly went into fast forward. Students frantically grabbed their duel discs and rushed to the nearest opponent. For them, the opponent didn't matter anymore. As long as they didn't get caught by the Demon King, it was a win. From Yellow Dorm, Yamamoto Yuichi dashed like a mortar shell toward a nearby obelisk blue girl. The girl, startled by his aggressive approach, probably thought she was about to get slammed. Yes, this was Kira Victim Club's #1 member, Yamamoto Yuichi. To his horror, he realized he'd randomly ended up near the Demon King right as the surprise duel started. Memories of the dorm exchange duel, and the terror of being dominated by the Yellow Demon King, flashed through his mind. He locked onto the blue dorm girl. No matter what, he was determined not to repeat last time. But just as he was about to succeed, another yellow dorm boy suddenly appeared, duel disc already out, blocking the girl. Sorry, may I duel you? She nodded. Yuichi, mid-charge, tripped and face-planted. He looked up angrily only to see that the one who stole his target was one of his best friends. The friend glanced at him, pushed up his glasses, and said, Sorry, Yuichi. But better you than me, buddy. Today, I had to be first. Take one for the team. Yuichi, you son of a... Before he could finish, a shadow fell over him. Then came the soft, polite voice of the devil, Oh? Isn't this my friend, Yuichi? Why are you on the ground? Can't find an opponent? What a coincidence, I haven't found one either. Looks like I'll have to ask for your guidance again. Yuichi sighed deeply, getting up and lifelessly raising his dual disc. His face said, Fine, fine, just get it over with. I activate the spell card Destruction, then chain the continuous trap Call of the Haunted to special summon Protector of the Sanctuary from the graveyard. Sorry, Yuichi. You have to discard your entire hand, and thanks to Protector of the Sanctuary, you can't draw. I'll draw 4 cards for myself from Card Destruction. Yuichi. Oh? Are you ending your turn without doing anything? So polite. Well, my turn again, Donzalug attacks directly. Looks like you've lost. Another happy duel was over. Kira bade farewell to the shell-shocked Yuichi and went to find his next target. Club rules, you can't duel the same person twice. So, he just had to find another pair in a duel, wait nearby, and as soon as their duel ended, there'd be a free student. Like that glasses-wearing yellow dorm boy and the blue dorm girl. During their duel, both were relieved they'd dodged the Demon King. But before long, both felt a chill down their spines. They turned to see the Yellow Demon King was already standing nearby, watching their duel with a smile. What did this mean? It was obvious he was waiting to pounce as soon as their duel ended. What to do? Throw the match and drag it out? No way, that would be cheating, a disgrace to duelists, and against school rules. As the duel neared its end, the Glasses boys' LP was almost 0, both participants were getting desperate. The girl seemed to say, Seriously? I barely moved and you already lost? The boy looked miserable, but then, in the crowd, he spotted Hope. Yoichi, the one who'd just been beaten, was now excitedly watching. Saved! The glasses boy's eyes lit up. As soon as this duel ended, he could grab his buddy and duel him, dodging the Demon King. The moment his LP hit 0, he withstood the virtual attack and sprinted toward Yoichi. Yoichi! Let's settle our grudge today. Come on, duel me. I refuse. Yoichi rolled his eyes and ignored him, heading straight for the blue dorm girl. Excuse me, would you like to duel? The girl nodded gratefully. Yoichi. Kisama. The glasses boy roared. Yoichi just smirked back. Het, let my brother taste the hell I've been through. So, the yellow Demon King appeared before the glasses boy, smiling as he raised his dual disc. Looks like it's just you and me. Anything you want to say before we start? Glasses boy. I activate the trap card Ojima Trio, summoning 3 Ojima tokens to your field. Then activate the continuous trap Rivalry of Warlords. Since you have beast-type Ojima tokens, you can't summon any other monsters. Alright, it's your turn now. Take your time. Glasses boy. Seeing his opponent go red in the face, staring at his hand with no possible plays, Kira started to zone out. Come to think of it, where's Jaden? It doesn't make sense, shouldn't he be the most active at this sort of event? Extra chapter at 1000 PS. Chapter 194, Intruders? Big bro, slow down. Behind the academy, deep in the woods, Cirrus and Chumley were panting as they followed. Naturally, the energetic Jaden was in the lead. What's wrong? You can't explore at this speed, SY. Jaden said cheerfully. But still Cirrus gasped for breath. Why do we have to skip the festival and come out to this wilderness? They say there's a dueling koala in these woods. Jaden was excited. Cirrus, a dueling koala? That's impossible. No, we already met a dueling monkey before, remember? Chumley mused. So, a koala isn't out of the question. Cirrus glanced at Chumley and thought for a moment. True. And anyway, our dorm does have someone who's a dueling koala. How rude. After a while, the 2 stragglers gave up. I can't go any further. Big bro's stamina is insane. Cirrus panted. And we're almost at the seaside. There's probably nothing out here, right? You never know. This academy's island has tons of secrets, Jaden said. Maybe something aquatic will jump out of the sea. Chumley sweated. I'm pretty sure there's no such thing as a dueling fish. As he was speaking, suddenly smack a black-gloved hand grabbed the cliff edge, and a figure appeared, climbing up from below. It appeared. Chumley and Cirrus huddled together. It looked like someone in black leather, half their face covered. Climbing up from the cliff, he frowned on seeing the 3. Damn! To think I'd run into students even here. Chumley and Cirrus exchanged glances. What's this guy muttering about? No idea. But he doesn't look like a good guy. Then, the man's arm folded with mechanical components suddenly transformed into a cannon-like shape. A swirl of air blasted toward the 3. Air cannon. Kuri. Winged Kuruba. Winged Kuruba appeared just in time. Jaden instinctively raised his arm, and the translucent spirit shield blocked the shockwave. Kuri Kuri, said Winged Kuruba. Jaden nodded. Yeah, I get it, partner. This guy's an enemy, right? He glared at the black-clad assailant. Who are you? Why did you sneak onto this island? Why attack us? TCH, as expected of Duel Academy. Even random students are this strong. In that case. The man's arm transformed again, quickly assembling into a dual disc. You can call me Beta. I have very important business here. Since you're in my way, the man said coldly, let's settle this the Duel Academy way by duel. What? A duel? Jaden also raised his dual disc. Fine. If it's a duel, I'm ready anytime. Cirrus, big bro, we don't know what his goal is. Isn't it reckless to duel him right now? But Jaden wasn't listening at all. Duel. X2. Jaden, LP 4000. Beta, LP 4000. I'll go first. Draw. Beta's voice was hoarse and mechanical, as if through a voice changer. I summon Kumarai Dragon. Kumarai Dragon, ATK 1500. Set 2 cards face down. End turn. Beta finished his simple first turn, then looked up coldly. My formation is perfect. Your chance of winning this duel isn't even 1%. Oh? That confident? Jaden was unfazed instead, he was excited. Indeed, Beta said. I have analyzed the tactics of the legendary king of games. You have no chance. Hearing you say that only makes me more eager to see it. Show me your perfected tactics. Jaden's spirits soared. First, I need your help, Sparkman. I summon Elemental Hero Sparkman. The blue Elemental Hero, one of the so-called 4 useless heroes, leaped onto the field, crackling with blue electricity. Elemental Hero Sparkman, ATK 1600. Sparkman, attack Kumarai Dragon. Jaden declared. As his low ATK hero launched a bolt of lightning, Beta let out a low, mocking laugh beneath his heavy mask. Seems worrying about this kid's spirit powers was overkill after all, he's just a Slifer Red. He'd heard Slifer Reds were bottom tier in the academy. Doesn't seem to have any tricks, not a tough opponent. At this moment, I activate my face down. Beta raised his hand. Quick play spell Shrink. Have the ATK of a monster on the field. Jaden frowned, you're going to have Sparkman's ATK for a counterattack. Humph, I'm not using such low-level tactics. Watch, this is the kind of play you see when you've analyzed the best duelist's tactics. I'm having my own Kumarai Dragon's ATK. The spell shrank his dragon, reducing its ATK to half its original size. Kumarai Dragon, ATK 1500-750. You're lowering your own monster's ATK. Chumley was shocked. What kind of move is this? Sparkman's palm blast pierced through the shrunken Kumarai Dragon, the residual shockwaves exploding across Beta's face. Beta, LP 3150. What are you doing? Jaden was confused. Humph, at that moment, you stepped into a bottomless abyss. Beta sneered. Look at your monster. Sparkman staggered, and looked down at his hands, then dark red energy began to radiate from his body, engulfing him until the elemental hero faded away. What? What happened? Jaden was shocked. Ha ha ha. Because when the battle was successful, I activated this card. He pointed to a trap that had already flipped up. Trap card, Crush Card Virus. When a dark monster with 1000 ATK or less on your field is destroyed by battle, all of your opponent's monsters in hand and deck, with 1500 ATK or more are destroyed. Anime effect. In the anime, Kaiba said use a dark monster with 1000 or less ATK as the virus host, which sounds like a tribute, but in the anime, he'd bait attacks, use Shrink to reduce his own monster's ATK, let it get destroyed, and trigger the virus even taking battle damage himself. So, the original virus triggers via battle when your dark monster with 1000 ATK or less is destroyed. Nanny? All monsters with 1500 or more ATK. Jaden was shocked. That's right, not just on the field, but also in your hand and deck. Destroy them all. Beta commanded. You're targeting the very soul of my deck. Jaden grimly watched as the virus corroded his deck, reluctantly sending 3 cards to the graveyard. Elemental Hero Blood Edge, Wild Heart, and Necroshade. Beta. Wait. Those are the only 3 monsters in your deck with 1500 plus ATK. Chapter 195, The Strongest Evolved Virus. Beta held it in for a while but couldn't help asking, that's it? Hey. Jaden was taken aback. You don't have any more monsters with over 1500 ATK in your deck. Seems like I don't. Jaden rested his chin in thought. Now that you mention it, I think Captain Gold has over 1500 ATK too. But I didn't bring him today. Beta. The thrill Beta felt after activating Crush Card Virus instantly vanished. What should have been a deadly weapon against most decks felt utterly powerless against this jellyfish-haired kid's deck, as if he'd just punched a pile of cotton. TCH, I underestimated you. So, this is an elemental hero deck focused on fusion attacks? The main deck is just full of weaklings. I remember now. Chumley beside them smacked his forehead. I've seen this strategy before. I saw it in past Duel City tournament videos. This is the legendary technique often used by Seto Kaiba. Sirius's expression turned serious at the name. That legendary Kaiba. Oh, to duel against a combo like that, now I'm even more pumped. Jaden grinned. Then I'll set 2 cards in my back row and end my turn. Still have the leisure to be excited? Well, I'll make sure to wipe that smile off your face soon. My turn draw. It was Beta's turn again. I activate the spell card Graceful Charity, draw 3 cards and discard 2, Beta announced. Then I summon Axe Dragonute. Axe Dragonute, ATK 2000. Even though Deck Devastation Virus didn't work as planned, at least your field is empty now. Beta waved his hand. Axe Dragonute, direct attack. Axe Dragonute leaped over Jaden's empty field, raising its axe to cleave down on his head. Not so fast. I activate a face down, quick play spell, the Flute of Summoning Kuruba. Jaden declared. I special summon Winged Kuruba from my deck. A tiny golden flute appeared, and at its call, a fluffy white winged Kuruba fluttered out to block the attack. Beta, then battle rewinds, and I'll continue attacking Winged Kuruba. This weakling will go down in one hit. I activate another face down. Jaden interrupted. Quick play spell, Transcendent Wings. I discard 2 cards, and my Winged Kuruba evolves to LV10. Jaden sent 2 cards to the graveyard. Kuruba's white feathers shimmered with dazzling golden light as it evolved. Angelic feathers filled the air, and the little Kuruba transformed, bathed in holy radiance. Winged Kuruba LV10, ATK 300. It evolved all the way to level 10. Beta started to feel uneasy. But its ATK is only 300. LV10's special effect activates. During your battle phase, I tribute this card to destroy all attack position monsters on your field. Jaden clenched his fist. And you take damage equal to the total original ATK of those destroyed monsters. Nanny. Beta was shocked. The holy angel wings burst forth in even brighter gold, like a blazing sun swallowing his field. Axe Dragonute was instantly disintegrated by the divine light. Oh wow! A surge of violent energy exploded on Beta's field, knocking him flat on his back. The shockwaves even blew Jaden's 2 roommates off their feet. Beta, LP 3150 LP 1150. The 2 who were sent flying stared at each other in disbelief. Is it just me, or did that impact feel way stronger than regular solid vision? Cirrus said. Ah, so I'm not the only one. Chumley looked uneasy. Something's weird about this duel. Beta, now covered in dirt, got up awkwardly. Damn it. That's right, the duel was using military-grade projection solidification tech, creating effects similar to a shadow game. The projections could inflict real pain. The embarrassing thing was, after all this, he hadn't even reduced Jaden's life points yet. If he died before the opponent even realized the damage was real, that would be too ridiculous. But Beta calmed himself and checked his hand. You only get to be cocky for now. Beta said coldly. I set 2 cards and end my turn. Hang in there, bro. Cirrus cheered. Chumley rested his chin. I thought this guy would be tough, but maybe he's weak. Beta. No matter what, I'm going on the offensive. Jaden declared. My turn draw. He glanced at his hand, pleased with his always reliable luck, and revealed a card, spell card Legacy of a Hero. If I have 2 or more level 4 or higher hero monsters in my graveyard, draw 3 cards. Manga effect. This was the hero deck's powerhouse draw in the manga easy conditions, huge draw power. Years later, when it became a real card, it was nerfed, requiring you to return 2 fusion heroes from the grave to the deck to draw 3. Not nearly as useful. Thanks to the elemental heroes you sent to my graveyard, I get to draw 3 cards. Jaden drew. Beta. Why does that make it sound like I'm an inside agent? With 3 new cards, Jaden's eyes lit up. Avian and Burstinatrix, the classic GX power couple plus a fusion card. Great, now I can launch my counterattack. Jaden excitedly drew out Polymerization. Now I can summon my favorite monster. But before he could act, Beta interrupted. I activate Continuous Trap Call of the Haunted. Special summon a monster from my graveyard in attack position. Beta pulled out a card from his graveyard. I revive the monster you destroyed last turn, Axe Dragonute, in attack position. Axe Dragonute, ATK 2000. Revived Axe Dragonute. Jaden pondered. But with only 2000 ATK, it couldn't beat his Flame Wingman. Flame Wingman deals effect damage equal to the destroyed monster's ATK, so it would be a direct KO. So, Jaden continued, I activate Polymerization. I fuse Avian and Burstinatrix from my hand. Hat, you're trying to use fusion to upgrade your weak monsters into stronger heroes. I see right through you. It's true, this strategy lets you avoid Crush Card Virus's suppression. Beta slowly raised his arm. But my tactics have evolved beyond Seto Kaiba's classic strategy. What I'm using now is the perfected virus destruction. It surpasses the original. Behold, our new generation upgraded virus. He flipped another set card. In response to your fusion, I activate Trap Card Deck Devastation Virus. Tribute a dark monster with 2000 or more ATK. Destroy all monsters with 1500 or less ATK in your opponent's hand or field, and for the next 3 turns, any they draw are also destroyed. Next goal, 1500 PS, 2 extra chapters. Chapter 196, How are you so good at drawing? So all monsters with 1500 or less ATK get destroyed. Jaden's face fell. That's right. This is the evolved virus strategy, far surpassing what Kaiba used back then. Beta laughed. All monsters with 1500 or less ATK in the opponent's hand, field, and any drawn for the next 3 turns are destroyed. While not as instant as Crush Card Virus, the suppression is still strong. Crush Card Virus is a one-time nuke. It only blows up all monsters in the deck with over 1500 ATK at activation. If the opponent recycles them from the graveyard, they're safe from the virus. But this new virus is different. For the next 3 turns, any qualifying monsters drawn are destroyed. In other words, Jaden can't summon any monsters. Ha 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 ha, did you think your deck of weaklings would make my virus useless? I told you, the power of the evolved virus has no blind spots. Beta laughed. How can this be? Cirrus said. All monsters above and below 1500 ATK are destroyed. Doesn't that mean bro can't summon anything? The newly drawn Avian and Burstinatrix were both blown to the graveyard. Jaden was left with no monsters to play. I'll set a card and end my turn. My turn draw. Beta drew and squinted at Jaden's back row. Just one set card? Well, since you can't summon, you're powerless. Beta sneered. Looks like that's your only hope left. I'll get rid of it. I activate Equip Spell Premature Burial. Pay 800 LP to revive a monster from my graveyard in attack position. Beta, LP 1150 LP 350. I revive the monster I sent to the graveyard last turn. Darkstorm Dragon, summon. A deep black rift tore open in the air, like a crack in space itself. Cold winds whipped up dust and leaves, forming a towering black tornado. A massive dragon emerged at the eye of the storm, covered in black scales as if swallowed by the night. Its huge black wings spread wide, blocking out the sky, and every beat sounded like the air itself was being ripped apart. Darkstorm Dragon, ATK 2700. Darkstorm Dragon is a Gemini monster. It can be normal summoned again to gain a new effect. So I normal summon Darkstorm Dragon again to give it its effect. Beta swept his hand. Once per turn, I can send a face-up spell or trap I control to the grave to destroy all spells and traps on the field. So I send Premature Burial to the graveyard, destroy all spells and traps. A doomsday tornado burst forth, engulfing everything in darkness. Jaden's set card was swept into the air and shredded into light. It was Mirror Force. Cirrus, bro's Mirror Force is gone. Ha ha ha. What a shame, it was Mirror Force. If you'd managed to activate it, maybe you could have survived a bit longer. Beta roared. Battle. Darkstorm Dragon, direct attack. The tornado whipped up countless small cyclones, all swirling around the main storm. Countless wind blades slashed past Jaden. Ugh. Jaden, LP 4000 LP 1300. Jaden staggered, almost to his knees. What is this pain? He instantly thought of the shock he'd felt when dueling with Kira in the spirit world. Could this be a shadow game? He looked up at the black-clothed man across from him, more convinced than ever that he wasn't a good guy. I told you, you have no chance, Beta smirked. I set a card and end my turn. Beta finished his turn and sneered at Jaden. If you surrender now, you might suffer less. Come on. Jaden dusted himself off and stood up with a smile. This is the first time I've seen such a fun strategy. Why would I quit halfway? You. Beta grumbled. Is this kid nuts? Your deck's infected with 2 viruses. You can't even fusion summon from your hand. Beta said coldly. In this situation, how do you think you'll come back? I don't know, Jaden replied honestly. Beta. It's because I don't know that it's fun, right? Jaden excitedly raised his hand to draw. Even though I don't know what I'll draw, I feel like this next draw could change the world. Isn't that exciting? Beta. No, I really can't understand you. Haha, if you don't get it, let me show you. My turn draw. Jaden immediately played the card he drew. Spell card Graceful Charity. Draw 3, discard 2. Useless, Beta sneered. Whatever you draw, you can't keep monsters in your hand. Jaden discarded 2 cards. Then I activate spell card Fifth Hope. Jaden announced. Shuffle 5 elemental hero monsters from my graveyard back into my deck, then draw 2 cards. If I have no other cards in hand or on the field, I draw 3 instead. I shuffle back Blood Edge, Wild Heart, Avian, Burstinatrix, and just discarded Bublemon. 5 monsters turned into golden light and flew back into his deck. I told you it's useless. Even if you recycle monsters, if you draw them again, they'll just be destroyed. He noticed one of the cards being shuffled back Elemental Hero Blood Edge, a 2600 ATK boss monster. You also have Necroshade in your grave, right? Its effect is... Oh, you figured it out. Jaden grinned. That's right. While Necroshade is in the graveyard, for one time only, I can normal summon a high-level hero without tributing. But your only high-level hero is the Blood Edge you just shuffled in. Beta said grimly. This combo only works if you draw that single monster. And even then, its ATK is still 100 less than my Darkstorm Dragon. So you'd need an ATK boost too. Haha, you think too much. Let's see what I draw, okay. Jaden laughed. Beta. No, your dueling mindset is broken. Okay, time to draw. Because I have no other cards in hand or on the field, Fifth Hope lets me draw 3. Draw. Jaden drew 3 cards in a flash. Beta stared at him, unblinking. Seriously, your deck is so thick and you just shuffled in 1 card. If you somehow draw it right now, isn't that a joke? Thanks to Necroshade in my graveyard, I can normal summon Elemental Hero Blood Edge without tributing. Beta, nanny. Blood Edge burst out with golden energy, engines firing as it spun down to stand before Jaden. Elemental Hero Blood Edge, ATK 2600. He drew it. Beta was stunned. Could this guy be some kind of chosen one? Even after seeing Jaden's luck countless times, Chumley still commented, Jaden's draws are illogical. Blade Edge's ATK was only 100 less than Darkstorm Dragon. And Beta only had 350 LP left. If Jaden's draw included a card that boosted ATK by 500, Beta was done for. After seeing such a godlike draw, Beta didn't dare risk it. I activate Trap Hole. Beta yelled. When a monster with over 1000 ATK is summoned, destroy it. A black hole opened under Blade Edge's feet, and he fell in, exploding to pieces. Ah! Cirrus cried. Bro finally summoned a comeback monster. Ha ha ha, so this was your big reversal? Too bad it didn't work. Beta pretended to be calm and laughed, but was secretly sweating. Damn, this jellyfish head draws whatever he wants. Scared me to death. Luckily, I'm still 1 step ahead. Then, from my hand, I activate Miracle Fusion. Jaden smiled. Hey! Beta's laughter froze. What? Miracle Fusion? This card lets me fusion summon using heroes in my graveyard, Jaden explained. By banishing the required monsters from my field or graveyard, I can fusion summon. He paused and smiled. And I'll use this card in my graveyard as a substitute fusion material. He pulled out a monster card from his graveyard. The Light, Hex Sealed Fusion. This card can act as a substitute for 1 fusion material. So I'll use the Light, Hex Sealed Fusion in place of Flame Wingman, and fuse with Sparkman in my graveyard. In a burst of dazzling light, the substitute transformed into Flame Wingman and combined with Sparkman in a whirlpool of light. A hero clad in high-tech armor emerged from the brilliance. Elemental Hero Shining Flare Wingman, summon. Elemental Hero Shining Flare Wingman, ATK 2500. He fused from the graveyard. Beta gritted his teeth. And Shining Flare Wingman gains 300 ATK for each hero in my graveyard. Jaden smiled. I have Necroshade and Blad Edge left, so plus 600 ATK. Elemental Hero Shining Flare Wingman, ATK 2500 3100. 3100 ATK. Beta was stunned. And when Shining Flare Wingman destroys a monster in battle, you take damage equal to that monster's ATK. Though, looks like we won't need that now. Jaden laughed. Beta. So I owe you a few lives, huh? Battle. Jaden declared. Shining Flare Wingman, attack Darkstorm Dragon. Golden wings wrapped in holy light, the brilliance condensed into flames. Shining Flare Wingman brought his hands together, firing a dazzling beam that pierced Darkstorm Dragon and Beta, roaring past him. Beta was blown into the air, spinning as he fell off a cliff, eyes flashing with resentment. His eyes seemed to say, "Why are you so good at drawing?" Beta, LP 350 LP 0. Chapter 197, A Good Friend's Secret. Hey! Are you okay? Jaden ran a long way around the cliff, panting. He hadn't expected to KO someone off a cliff with a card game. Cirrus and Chumley were dumbfounded. How could today's solid vision effects be so strong that it knocked someone all the way down the cliff? Could something have happened? They followed Jaden down, out of breath, and finally found the unlucky guy who'd been blasted off the cliff, lying on a rock by the sea. Cirrus and Chumley were nervous, worried they'd find a bloody mess, but were surprised to find just a pile of metal fragments, wires, and electronic parts. All three froze. A robot? That's right. The guy calling himself Beta, in black clothes and a mask, was not human but a machine. Its head and body were separated, scattered among the rocks, revealing complex circuits and chips inside. The mechanical arm joints were broken, hydraulic tubes burst, and oil leaked onto the ground. Cirrus and Chumley exchanged glances. So, Bro was dueling a robot just now. But who sent it? Why would it come to Duel Academy? Chumley wondered. I don't know, Jaden shook his head, but looked grim. He thought back again to the unusual, shadow duel-like shock he'd felt during the duel. He didn't know where this thing came from or what it wanted, but it was definitely up to no good. Let's go tell the school, Jaden said. The other two nodded. The deserted beach and broken robot left them uneasy. They turned to leave. But after a few steps, Jaden stopped abruptly. The others ran a few steps, realized he wasn't following and turned back. What's wrong, bro? Cirrus asked. Jaden didn't answer, but suddenly, he remembered Kira's serious words. When cards fall into the hands of evil, they become dangerous weapons. As righteous duelists, we can't stand by and watch our beloved monsters be abused. If we ignore it and some villain recovers these cards to use as weapons, what then? Jaden paused for a second, then ran back to the pile of robot debris. He found the smashed duel disc and pulled out the deck. He even muttered a quiet apology. Only after pocketing the deck did he jog to catch up to his friends. Cirrus. Chumley. It's over. Bro is going to turn into the next big villain. The school festival was coming to a close. The sky was dark. As Kira left the venue, he stretched lazily. Today's dueling events were fun, I had a blast. But the prizes were stingy, just 2 rare cards and a custom keychain. The dueling club is so cheap. Misawa and Alexis, walking with him. You had fun, but who knows about everyone else? At this rate, next year's festival might need new rules, or it could kill everyone's enthusiasm for dueling. Maybe the academy will start a new rumor about the man who single-handedly rewrote the school festival dueling rules. By the way, the custom keychain can be any duel monster, right? Have you decided which one yet? Alexis asked. Guess, Kira smiled. Misawa guessed, Lava Golem. Alexis seriously considered it. If it's you, maybe. What about you, Misawa? You earned enough duel points for a keychain, right? Misawa put on a proud samurai face. I don't need something like that. Got it, Kira nodded. White Magician Pikaru then. I understand. Misawa's face changed. How did you know? No, I mean don't say that. Relax, we all know, Kira laughed. Ask Alexis if you don't believe me. Misawa looked at Alexis. She nodded. Yeah. Kira said you sometimes sneak her out in the lab for private research trying to unlock her potential, right? Because you like her. Misawa's face went red. No, I don't, I. Kira patted his shoulder. It's fine. We get it. Men, what's weird about liking Loli? Besides, she has twin tails. Misawa. Damn, my deepest secret was already exposed? He sulked the whole way back. Walking through the woods, Alexis suddenly pointed at the sky. The moon's round tonight. The three looked up and stopped. Yeah, Kira nodded. They sat by a creek, watching the moon. After a while, Alexis spoke. Actually, before coming to the academy, and even after arriving, I was always alone. Not that I didn't have classmates, but somehow I just couldn't fit in. Maybe because I had a goal from the start. Looking at the moon, memories stirred. She spoke softly. The most important secret I have for coming here, is my brother. His name's Atticus. He disappeared here at Duel Academy. Since then, I've been determined to find him. That's why I came to look for clues about his disappearance. Since he vanished, I haven't cared much about anything else. Socializing, making friends, so I never really fit in. She looked away from the moon and smiled. But now, having joined this lab, spending time with you guys, the two most important friends I've made since coming here, I feel happy. She smiled at Misawa. What about you, Dr. Misawa? That nickname was started by Jaden because Misawa was always scribbling calculations. To be honest, at first I would have said we're just classmates or colleagues, not friends. Misawa sat up straight, arms crossed, eyes closed, awkward. But since you already know my secret, I guess I have no choice. Alexis giggled. Moonlight poured like silver waterfalls, gently bathing the creek and reflecting their silhouettes. Their shadows stretched long, waving in the sparkling water. So, we've all shared our secrets. That just leaves Kira the only one who hasn't shared anything important. Isn't that a bit sneaky? Alexis teased. Maybe I'm just a boring person. Kira smiled. No stories, no secrets. Ha, you? No stories. Misawa laughed. Who in the academy would believe that? Well, how about this, let's talk about the rumor everyone cares about most right now. What? The one about you knowing Kaiba. Alexis grinned. What's your relationship? How do you know someone like that? Kira. Chapter 198, Academy Invasion. As soon as that topic was brought up, both Alexis and Misawa looked at him with eager faces. After all, this was Seto Kaiba, the man at the very top of this world. Any anecdote about such a legend would fascinate everyone, especially when it involved a classmate. So you want me to tell the truth? Kira put on a serious face. The two sensed juicy gossip and nodded repeatedly. All right, here I go. Kira took a deep breath and, at his leisure, said. Actually. The two held their breath. I'm not close with Seto Kaiba. Kira sighed. Sure enough, judging by their faces, nobody ever believes the truth. He hadn't even exchanged more than a few words with Kaiba, didn't have his contact info. At most, he was only vaguely acquainted with Kaiba's brother, Mokuba. The two were skeptical. Really? Really? Kira said. Then is it true he gave you a huge scholarship? It's true. And the sponsorship for our lab? Also true. Some say you got a bunch of rare cards through Kaiba Corp's internal channels. That's also true. The two. But I heard Seto Kaiba is pretty difficult to get along with, Misawa said. Even with Duel King Yugi and others, their relationship wasn't great. Everyone at Kaiba Corp is said to be terrified of him. Indeed, many people were curious about that. Kaiba was famous for his dueling skills and his infamous temper. To get so many favors from him, you'd have to be close, right? But Kira shook his head, just rumors. So he's not really like that? Not exactly, Kira pondered. If I had to say, that's his mask. Mask. Misawa and Alexis exchanged confused looks. Seto Kaiba isn't quite what you think. Kira smiled. You know, Kaiba Corp was originally an arms manufacturer, right? That was common knowledge, both nodded. Seto Kaiba and his brother were adopted, and taken in by the previous arms tycoon, Gozaburo Kaiba. Gozaburo had his plans. He wanted to use Kaiba's body as a vessel for his real son, Noah, who died in a car accident. He wanted to download Noah's digital consciousness into Seto's body to revive him. But unexpectedly, Kaiba took control of the company as a teenager, forced the old man out, and became the new president. Gazabaro's plans failed, and he died bitterly. Kira said, Seto Kaiba took over a massive corporation at 16, and had to earn everything on his own. He forced a bunch of old arms dealers to obey him and made a weapons company switch to making card games. If he didn't act as tough and ruthless as the rumors say, it would have been impossible. The two thought it over and nodded. Besides, Kaiba was always a classic tsundere, he'd never admit his real feelings. The best example, he always called Joey a nobody and rated him only 2 stars as a duelist. Yet, when Joey's soul was taken in the Doma arc, Kaiba's first reaction was surprise, even the nobody lost. So, in reality, Joey was one of the world's top duelists in Kaiba's mind, he just refused to admit it. So, if what everyone usually sees is a mask, what is the real Seto Kaiba like? Alexis asked. Who knows? Kira shrugged. Once you wear a mask for long enough, it's not so easy to take it off. Short silence. Then Misawa spoke up, so you know so much about Seto Kaiba. He trailed off, but his meaning was clear. You still say you're not close? Kira. Suddenly, a harsh alarm rang out, sharp as a blade slicing the night sky, echoing through the forest. This is the Academy's intrusion alarm. Misawa's face changed. Alexis frowned as well, that's only sounded for emergencies. What happened? A mechanical female voice came from the loudspeakers, attention all students. Duel Academy has been infiltrated by unknown individuals. All students, please return to your dorms immediately and await further instruction. The incident will be handled by the administration. Intruders? At Duel Academy? Alexis looked worried. Who could it be? And why target Duel Academy? Who knows? Kira shrugged. There were plenty of reasons someone might target this island. In any case, just to be safe, Misawa stood up, let's do as we're told and head back to our dorms. Chancellor's office. Chancellor Shepard stood by the window, looking worriedly outside. The sky had darkened, thick clouds swallowing the horizon, thunderclouds roiling like an angry beast. A storm is coming. The office door opened. Professor Crowlier hurried in. What's going on, Chancellor? Crowlier said anxiously. What's this about the academy being invaded, and why are the students all being sent back to their dorms? Calm down, Professor. We don't know the details yet, only that unauthorized individuals have broken into the academy. We don't know how many or where they're from. But the administration is already searching. I believe we'll find them soon. Professor Crowlier stood at attention. Please let me join the search, Chancellor. I will never let anyone harm our students. I understand how you feel, Professor. But for now, let's observe the situation. If necessary, I'll inform you. Understood, Chancellor. Crowlier lowered his voice. By the way, Chancellor, do you think they're after those 3 cards? Chancellor Shepard hesitated. I don't think so, it doesn't fit the methods of that group, he shook his head. But just in case, I've already sent people to check on the site. He grew more serious. No matter what, we cannot allow anything to happen to those 3 cards. Chapter 199, Invitation. Duel Academy Island. Gamma was wandering through the forest, stopping now and then, craning his neck to look around, as if searching for something. Because he was lost. As an invader, this was rather unprofessional, but he had to admit it, he really was lost. But he didn't blame himself. It was this damned academy's fault for being built on such a huge, wild island. Lost in the deep woods, it felt like walking through a complex painting. The trees intertwined, branches thick, leaves blocking the moonlight and making navigation impossible. Ceiling array, ceiling array. Gamma muttered as he walked, breaking through the woods. The ground was soft and wet, each step muffled by fallen leaves. Everything looked the same, the straight trunks, dense canopy. It all felt like copy-paste, no way to tell one area from another. Advance 600 meters at 4 o'clock, then through the bushes. Gamma muttered the directions, crawled through a thicket and suddenly emerged into an open clearing. Nothing there. Damn, where's the sacred beast ceiling array supposed to be? Gamma grumbled, trying to figure out where he'd gone wrong. Suddenly, a female voice called from behind, "Who are you?" It was Alexis, heading back to the blue dorm along this path. Duel Academy student. Gamma glanced at her, thought for a moment, and snorted. Perfect. I was just looking for someone to guide me. Since you're here, point the way for me. Alexis took 2 cautious steps back. You're the intruder. Gamma didn't hesitate. He raised his arm, mechanical parts assembled into a dual disc. A pale blue field burst from the disc, rapidly forming a barrier that enclosed the two of them. The dual field is active. Now you can't escape. Gamma clenched his fist. Let's settle this the Academy way, a duel. If I win, you must guide me to the designated place. She didn't know how things had escalated so fast, but when it came to dueling, Alexis was wide awake. She quickly deployed her dual disc, ready and alert. If it's a duel, I'll take you on anytime. Duel. X2. When the alarm sounded, Kira and Misawa immediately headed for their dorms. Alexis was in the blue dorm and parted ways with them en route. Approaching the yellow dorm, Kira suddenly stopped. Misawa, you go on ahead, he said. Misawa looked back, puzzled, with intruders and the whole school on lockdown, where are you going? Then he realized, you're not trying to find those. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Kira waved. See you tomorrow. Misawa thought, of course, I know you'll be fine. But I'm not so sure about everyone else. Fine, just be careful. After parting, Kira didn't head for his dorm, but turned and walked into the woods. Target found? You sure it's an intruder? Kira asked. Spirit form Silent Magician and Jinzo floated out beside him, both nodding. They are tailing me. Silent Magician nodded again. Strange, Kira muttered as he walked. Where did these crazy fans come from? Alpha watched from the shadows, eyes narrowed. Fujiki Kira, are a yellow first year with an amazing record. Alpha muttered. What's so special about you? After splitting from Misawa, Kira headed deep into the forest. Alpha silently followed. He's not going back to the dorm? Alpha wondered. He pushed aside his doubts and followed, the two winding deeper into the forest, away from inhabited areas. Alpha thought this was a good sign. His goal was to abduct Kira quietly, and the more remote, the better. The night was dark, the sky shrouded in clouds, the forest gloomier than ever. Trees loomed in the dim light, branches swaying like whispers from hidden creatures. Alpha began to feel uneasy. After one turn, he looked up and the silhouette ahead had vanished. Where did he go? Alpha looked around in confusion. Now, the dense forest felt like a giant maze. Faint moonlight was shredded by branches, casting twisted shadows, as a strange mist filled the air. A soft voice sounded behind him, you saw it. Alpha spun and leaped back. Kira was standing behind him, hands clasped behind his back, looking eerie in the moonlit mist. Alpha was startled. Wait, I'm the intruder and stalker. Why does it feel like he's the villain and I'm the expendable horror movie character? But he quickly regained his composure. So, you do have some mysterious power, Alpha said in a low voice. I knew Father wouldn't single out a student for no reason. Father? Kira repeated. So you're a family operation? Alpha didn't answer, only said, I came for you, Fujiki Kira. Father believes your abilities are valuable to us. Join us, and you'll get unimaginable resources and a chance to stand at the top of the world. Before that, at least tell me who you are. You'll only learn once you join, Alpha replied. But I can tell you our goal is to overthrow this world, seize ultimate power, and take it from that tyrant Seto Kaiba. Kira raised an eyebrow. Just from that goal, there was no way he'd ever side with them. First, he still wanted to leech more benefits from Kaiba, and they got along fine. Second, as long as Yugi stayed retired, Kaiba was the protagonist of this world, his dueling, resources, and power unmatched. Anyone going against him was asking for trouble. All Kira could say was, if you want to die, don't drag me down with you. Refuse? Expected, but too bad since I'm here, you don't have a choice. Alpha's arm shifted, mechanical parts assembling into a dual disc. Then I'll take you by force through a duel. Chapter 200, Codename Alpha. As soon as Alpha's transforming dual disc activated, a wave of energy spread out, a pale blue barrier covering the area. Kira immediately recognized it, a technology similar to what Kaiba had used before. A scientific shadow duel? Kira frowned. He knew that the Teo group in 5DS also had such tech, but they were from the future. In this era, Only Kaiba should have access to such technology, so who were these people? Now he was curious. Alright. Kira activated his dual disc 2. Duel. X2. Kira, LP 4000. Alpha, LP 4000. I'll go first. Draw. Kira played a card. Continuous spell Messenger of Peace. All monsters with 1500 or more ATK on either side can't declare an attack. Like Gravity Bind or Level Limit Area B, this was a classic early lockdown card. But this one was more flexible. You could pay 100 LP in each of your standby phases to keep it or choose to let it be destroyed. So the owner could lift the lockdown whenever they wished. Starting with an attack lock. Alpha crossed his arms and sneered. Are you that afraid of my deck's power? Kira didn't reply, just smiled and continued, then I activate card destruction. Both players discard their hands and draw the same number. Alpha drew new cards, observing Kira's reaction. Is he digging for a specific combo? I set a monster face down, Kira said. Then set a card and end my turn. Ha, so you didn't get your combo? Then be crushed by my power. My turn, draw. Alpha swept his hand. Normal summon Paladin of Felgrund. A blonde swordsman appeared, a white cape billowing behind him. Paladin of Felgrund, ATK 1700. When this card is summoned, equip a level 7 or 8 dragon from hand or deck to it as an equip card. Alpha pulled a card from his deck. From my deck, equip level 7 dragon Archbrave Dragon. A phantom dragon appeared, attaching itself to the knight's sword like a dragon's soul. Then I activate continuous spell Ruins of the Divine Dragon Lords. A dragon statue appeared on the field, like a ruined temple. Once per turn, I can send a face-up card on the field, except this one, to the graveyard to special summon a Dragon Lord token. I send the equipped Archbrave Dragon to the graveyard to special summon a Dragon Lord token. Dragon Lord token, Def 0. Then Paladin of Felgrund's follow-up effect, tribute itself and another monster to special summon a level 7 or 8 dragon from the graveyard. So I tribute Paladin and the token Arcane Dragon Soul Revive. Level 7, Archbrave Dragon, special summon. The knight and token vanished, replaced by a brilliant dragon, descending in a shower of light. Archbrave Dragon, ATK 2400. So it's that deck. Kira touched his chin. He'd seen this deck before at Kaiba Corp, a new series themed on the level 8 Felgrund Dragon, the latest, most powerful dragon deck. But it wasn't out yet, even at Kaiba Corp it was a non-retail prototype. Kira became even more curious about who this guy was. When Archbrave Dragon is special summoned from the graveyard, banish all face-up spells and traps on your opponent's field. Alpha declared. Goodbye, Messenger of Peace. A radiant storm burst from the dragon, banishing Messenger of Peace to another dimension. And for each card banished, Archbrave Dragon gains 200 ATK. Archbrave Dragon, ATK 2400-2600. Now the attack lock is gone. Such simple tricks are useless against my shining dragon. Alpha laughed. Battle. Crush him. Archbrave Dragon, attack the face-down monster. Archbrave Dragon opened its jaws, firing a blinding beam. The set monster flipped face up a red-skinned blacksmith. Iron Blacksmith Katetsu, Def 500. The monster you attacked is Iron Blacksmith Katetsu, Kira said. When flipped, I can add an equip spell from my deck to my hand. He pulled an equip spell from his deck. I add Butterfly Dagger Elma to my hand. Any students who'd seen the Butterfly Dagger OTK in action would be sweating right now, but the opponent didn't realize the danger. Alpha, battle phase ends, I set 3 cards. 3 set cards appeared in Alpha's back row. Next, I activate the continuous spell Mirage of Nightmare from my hand. Once per turn, during your opponent's standby phase, draw cards until you have 4 cards in your hand. If you do, during your next standby phase after that, randomly discard the same number of cards you drew. Kira glanced at the 3 set cards. Looks like he set those to increase his hand for Mirage. I bet at least one is emergency provisions. By the way, Ruins of the Divine Dragon Lords has another effect, Alpha sneered. If I control a level 7 or 8 dragon, only monsters special summoned from the graveyard can activate their effects. Monsters special summoned from anywhere else have their effects negated for the turn they're summoned. Kira nodded slightly. That's troublesome. Humph. Alpha crossed his arms, smirking. If you don't want to be utterly crushed, surrender and join us while you can. Kira studied Alpha's posture and mannerisms. Don't you think your way of talking and some of your moves are a lot like Seto Kaiba? Oh? You noticed? Alpha smirked. That's right. I am a die-hard Seto Kaiba fan. Kira cut in. Yes, I am Seto Kaiba's #1 fan. Wait. Alpha nearly fell for it, his face darkening. Nonsense. I'm the latest AI modeled after Seto Kaiba, codename Alpha. Seto Kaiba is destined to be surpassed by us. We will lead Kaiba Corp back to the right path. Kira.
Thanks for listening.